It's Friday, and welcome to the AM show, the best breakfast show on the block. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I do this with Benjamin Akako. This is the show where we bring you news that matters to you and conversations that resonate and really also matter to you. Now, this morning, we'll start with the news, of course, the first bulletin on this channel, and then we get into the news review segment. Nanaya Sapong, a political assistant to Alanche Manteng, will be joining us, and Remy Edmondson, National Secretary of PPP, will also be joining us for the news review. After that, Haruna Mumbarak will bring you the latest updates in the world of sports, hopefully all the updates from yesterday's game from the Black Stars. And then, today being Friday, Benjamin Akako will be serving you his blunt thoughts. His title is Non-Existent Wi-Fi and a Cost Crisis, Ghana's Deepening Woes. I'm looking forward to that, so you shouldn't miss it. And then after that, we'll get into our big conversations, starting with growing for a greener tomorrow. Government continues its Green Ghana Day exercise as they disclose 41 million trees planted since the program's inception 3 years ago. But what has been the impact as some industry watchers cast doubts on the effectiveness of this initiative? Is the nation on course in its afforestation drive for a green environment? As we mark yet another Green Ghana Day today, we'll delve into the issue, so I'm inviting you to join us with your comments and thoughts as we get into the conversations. We'll also bring you a live coverage as President Akufo-Addo speaks on this day. You want to stay for that. So welcome aboard the AM show, starting with the news. Stay with me. This is the AM News on the AM Show. Details now, starting with management consultant Akako has charged Ghanaians to step forth and protect Ghana's natural resources against mismanagement. Ghana's forest reserves and water bodies have come under siege and attack in recent years due to the activities of illegal mining. Speaking at our latest public lecture on how to foster a way out of Ghana's current economic and social challenges, Akako said there must be a total revolution of mindsets to confront the challenges. There's more in this report.
Looking beyond the Fourth Republic towards nation building, the case for citizen mindset revolution. That is the theme that assembled thought leaders and ordinary citizens alike on the latest Joy News public lecture, speaking on the subject on how Ghana can chart a new path through its challenges. Management consultant Akako first established that the problems of the country is not about the competence of our leaders.
Is incompetence the cause of corruption? Is it incompetence when successive governments reward themselves with ex gratia payments, V8s, all manner of allowances, while 60% of citizens languish in poverty, barely able to afford a meal a day? Is it incompetence that causes our leaders to watch people die at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital's dialysis unit due to an unpaid bill of 4 million Ghana cedis? No. I hesitate to lay these behaviors and actions at the door of incompetence alone. Frankly, what masquerades as incompetence is a much more sinister and insidious problem which needs to be called by its name, the mindset of our leaders.
She said one of Ghana's current problems of illegal mining can only be resolved if the youth step up to confront the menace.
America's Central Intelligence Agency puts the worth of Ghana's unmined minerals based on prices prevailing on the world market at $10 trillion. Assuming the estimate of $10 trillion to be true, each of the 34.5 million Ghanaians' share of the unmined minerals equates to approximately $290,000. Yes, their one share in this one asset class has that value. This, in a country where the majority is unlikely to handle even $50,000 in their lifetime, is a travesty indeed. So, citizens, knowing the value of your one share in this single asset class, will you continue to sit idly by and watch successive governments plunder and mismanage your wealth? I surely hope not.
Research fellow at the Center for Democratic Development, Kwame Sapong Asiedu, also expounds reasons for some of the current challenges facing Ghana's health sector.
We, each of us who goes into a supermarket, pays an NHIS levy. In your wisdom, you pay that money so that it will be set aside to be used when you are unwell if you are registered with the NHIS. However, we got told in 2017 by others that though we, in our wisdom, had paid those monies, they knew better how to use the monies we had set aside for our health. Unfortunately, we looked on whilst they took the money and said nothing. Sadly, we now complain that the NHIS has no money and that our cards are not functional. What were we expecting when we sat down, lamely, for them to take the money?
Another major issue confronting Ghana's economy is the continuous depreciation of the Ghana cedi against major international currencies. Managing partner at AB and David law firm David Ofosu-Dorte said the Bank of Ghana's current approach to resolving the problem is wrong.
What is the purpose of monetary policy increases if it doesn't reduce inflation? And I've said it, I've tweeted this. It takes boldness for somebody to reverse an economic policy which is not working. I say, as an example, that monetary policy increases has never solved inflation in this country. If it had, you can't increase monetary policy rates 5 to 6 times and inflation is still going up. China and Turkey did the opposite by reducing monetary policy rate, and it took people like Larry Summers to actually say that is the right policy, and China's inflation started trending down.
But how frustrating these challenges to the ordinary Ghanaian, and how bad do they desire a change?
Council of State is sitting down, will not talk to the president. Christian Council is watching. Islamic Council is watching. And they cannot call the president to the order. People are suffering. I took my wife to the hospital. I nearly wept and I asked God, so today now, I am in the hospital. If I should go home and rainstorm or maybe any disaster, take my single room away. Who institution will I run to say, oh, Pacho, Babuami? Nobody. I don't know where I'm going to go.
Akosua Bame said the best solution to all of these challenges is a total change of mindset, self-consciousness, starting from a reform to Ghana's educational structure.
At the national level, the mindset revolution can begin with the following: launching a national citizens orientation program. 2, developing a national identity. 3, decolonizing our educational curricula. 4, building language cohesion. 5, investing in youth development. 6, establishing and maintaining a national asset register. 7, prioritizing health education. 8, addressing religious exploitation. 9, addressing pollution. And 10, reprising the role of town council officers.
All stakeholders and audiences in the end agreed that citizens must take responsibility, take front seat in the discourse for development, and spark change in every corner they find themselves with a renewed mindset. James Savaji, Joy News.
The Ghana Grid Company, GridCo, says its engineers are on the ground this afternoon, working around the clock to restore power to parts of the capital plunged into darkness following yesterday's fire at Ekomog, a slum community at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle in Accra. GridCo says there's been an outage to its 161 kilovoltage at Chimota to Accra Central Transmission Line and conductors following the fire incident. Joining us, Rejoice Semefakpesu was on the ground to interact with officials at the scene of the fire. Here's her report.
This is the aftermath of the Circle Ekomog fire yesterday, where fire razed some hundreds of structures over here, leaving many residents homeless. Now this morning, many parts of Accra still remain in darkness due to the fire outbreak yesterday, because this place has a number of high-tension electric poles that connects to many parts of Accra. We have GridCo officers on the ground. They are doing the assessment.
So we've done an initial assessment. We've seen that our transmission line cable on this transmission line, it serves Achimota to Accra Central. About 150 meters of the cable have been damaged, and so the line has been put out of service. It's been isolated because for safety reasons we don't want anyone to get electrocuted or hurt. Because even under these current conditions, there's still some electromagnetic current in the wire. So we are trying to get cables to barricade the area so that people don't come and touch or get caught up in any incident. So mainly our towers have also suffered some burn. Later on they will be retreated and restored, and then we also have some conductors that have been affected. They will also be replaced, and the insulators too will be looked at. If they are still in good condition, we'll leave them. So essentially that work has begun. I'm sure you see some of the engineers have come with additional equipment, so it will continue like this for the rest of the day and for as long as it will take, but I don't project it will be too long. We are told that they will quickly do this work. So this particular transmission line, it terminates at Accra Central bulk supply point. So what we've done is we've been working and have got some additional load coming from Malam substation. We know that because this line is out of service, there's been a reduction in the power that ECG will get to serve everyone. So I can't give you the particular areas, but by close of day today, everyone should be restored.
But we have the regional minister also coming through. He has been saying that henceforth they wouldn't allow anybody to raise structures over here again, and they will get anyone who will attempt raising structures here arrested.
You see the GridCo transmission lines, a national asset. This fire that gutted the place, if it affected any of the lines, we're all gone. And I'm so sad that the human beings are living under these pylons at the peril of their lives. Circumstance. But I've instructed that nobody should live here anymore. Nobody. And we mean it. Because as regional minister and the regional security council, it is our duty to protect every life and property. So a gentleman, he said he's a chief around here. And I've told him that I'm pleading with him. We don't want these things to continue. We don't want any third fire. Therefore, they should prepare and leave. We'll make sure we put men on the ground to make sure nobody, and I mean nobody, lives here. I mean my words. And anybody who tries to rebuild, we'll arrest the person and send him to court. I'll put the soldiers and the police on the ground. Anybody who comes here and tries to build, we'll arrest him. I mean it, because we mean serious. This time we're not going to joke. That indiscipline, that recklessness that people go around the region doing, it's not going to allow.
Right, Honorable, is there any plans underway to make sure that we get an alternative place for these people?
Where are we going to get it? Accra is choked. These are all squatters. It's unfortunate. Government cannot, where are we going to get it from? It's very difficult. There's no way we can get a place for them to live. So I'm sure they've been doing a lot of business around. So they might have done some savings. So they can look at other alternatives. But government hasn't got that muscle to get them a place.
To other stories now. The director of the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research in Tropical Medicine, that is KCCR, Professor Richard Odami Phillips, wants more opportunities given to the youth to pursue postgraduate education. With a booming youth population, he believes the move will translate into sustainable economic growth. Speaking at the second annual postgraduate conference on the College of Health Sciences, he called for more investment in research.
In doctoral training, Professor Phillips advocated an approach aimed towards meeting various career paths aside from academia.
Efforts from all, if we are going to be able to make progress with our graduate programs. And There has to be a change also with the graduate training. We need to interrogate this, look at how we can change our graduate programs to meet different career paths. And for a very long time, PhD graduates have aimed for and built careers in academia and research to the extent that those who fail to get in consider themselves as failures, with other sectors considered of lesser value. But we need to think about these numbers. In the Netherlands, close to 70% of PhD holders work outside academia. In the US, about 30% work outside academia and 35% in academia.
The two-day conference, which is under the theme, Harnessing Postgraduate Research to Achieve Sustainable Development Goals, will feature both oral and poster presentations and discussions highlighting the latest advancement in healthcare research. This year, the number of abstracts saw an increase from 48 to 165. The Pro-Vice Chancellor of KNUST, Professor Ellis Osudabo, admonished the college to work across the various SDGs.
It is important that we don't work in silos, but we work across the various SDGs. And so when you pick health, health in itself has got ripples. Health has got ripples on poverty, health has got ripples on hunger, health has got ripples on quality of education and justice and all of those things. If you're talking about mass drug administration and you're targeting a particular population and you do not consider the issue of justice, inequities, these are all part of what we're supposed to be addressing.
The Provost of the College of Health Sciences, Professor Christian Ajare, entreated participants to actively engage in knowledge and ideas sharing. And Professor Alexander Yaldebra is the chairman of the planning committee.
The SDGs provide a framework for addressing some of humanity's most pressing challenges, from climate action through good health for all and to social justice. However, achieving goals requires evidence-based solution, cutting-edge innovation, and collaboration across disciplines and departments. Postgraduate research, especially those at the College of Health Sciences, offer a unique opportunity to explore complex problems.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
One of the challenges faced by prison authorities in the country is the inadequate food to take care of inmates. There is, however, light at the end of the tunnel for inmates of the Central Prison, as Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development supports them to build their capacities and also produce organic manure for their farm at Bayere to feed them. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam was at the training session and has more from Bayere.
As part of the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development, CICOD, and the Ghana Prison Service, the latter has embarked on a program aimed at supporting the former to cultivate their own food in safe and hygienic environment. It is also to build the capacities of inmates to acquire some basic skills to support them to produce their own food using sustainable approaches such as agroecology. Deputy Executive Director of CICOD, Daniel Bonoku, is hopeful that through the program, the inmates, once they serve their term at the prison, will see agriculture as an alternative to bettering their lives.
And so the whole idea here is to give you hope that farming still remains an opportunity once you get out of prison. It is only how we are able to do it using the least resources that are available, by looking around our environment to see what are the basic things that we can convert and make them useful, increasing soil fertility and making agriculture a nice thing to do. So part of the training we are going to go through today, you have been part of the first process to convert waste. You saw the granite shells that was lying at Pongo. At the end of the day, it's the rain that would have come and carried all of those granite shells away. But today, that granite shell has been converted into biochar. So you've added value to waste. We are now going to take it to the next step, where we compose this to make it organic fertilizer that even if you set up a small garden within your space, you don't need to go and buy the fertilizer. You don't need to go and buy the chemicals. You can produce this on your own and be able to provide the lettuce. If you look at the wild market, people are looking for vegetables. We are looking for tomatoes. We are importing tomatoes from dry Sahelian countries. Why can't we come together and start producing our own food?
One of the biggest challenges faced by present authorities in the country is a meager amount of money used for their feeding. They are being fed on 1 cedi, 80 pesos per day.
Your people are doing their best, but if it is not just available, it is not available. So we use this opportunity to call on the government also to look at
In other stories, government has enhanced the monitoring and regulatory duties of the Minerals Commission in the Eastern region by commissioning a state-of-the-art office complex to serve the Brim Central Municipality and its adjoining areas. Speaking at the inauguration ceremony, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister disclosed that constructing a well-equipped office is part of the government's agenda to decentralize and bring the operations of Minerals Commission closer to mining operators and communities. Kofi Sian reports.
According to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, the construction of the modern office for the Akimoda Minerals Commission is further evidence of the Akufo-Addo administration's commitment to revitalizing the mining sector by promoting sustainable and environmentally sound mining practices. He noted that the office would enable the Minerals Commission to conduct effective supervision in Akimoda and its surrounding areas. The minister announced that under the Akufo-Addo administration, the operations of the Minerals Commission have expanded significantly with the construction of 4 new district offices, 12 satellite offices, and 2 observatory offices.
The government of President Akufo-Addo is not against small-scale mining. After revamping community mining schemes, introducing the mercury-free gold processing equipment known as the gold catcher, rolling out online applications for mineral rights, and instituting the small-scale miners award scheme, if there is still any doubt about the President's commitment to promoting sustainable small-scale mining industry, these infrastructure projects should do away with that doubt. His commitment and that of his government is to implement eco-friendly mining techniques that minimize environmental impact and ensure the long-term health of our ecosystems, build strong relationships with local communities and traditional leaders, provide employment opportunities, and as I can imagine, this edifice is going to create a lot of employment opportunities for the people of Akimoda, and contribute to local development projects and local economies. As I can imagine again, that this building will promote the local economy of Akimoda.
He assured the area of the imminent launch of the community mining scheme, stating that the construction of the office has paved way for the creation of the community mining concession. He acknowledged the Member of Parliament for the area, Alexander Kwesiakwa, for his assertive role in realizing the offices, promising the concession will soon be announced.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Member of Parliament, Honorable Alexander Kwesiakwa, has been knocking on my doors all the time, insisting that Akimoda deserves a community mining scheme. And I'm here to report to him, Honorable Member of Parliament and Deputy Minister for Health, that I will assure you that very soon Akimoda will have a community mining scheme.
Board chairperson of the Minerals Commission, Barbara Otinjesi, stated that the President tasked the Commission to streamline mining, especially small-scale mining, to benefit every Ghanaian and protect the environment, hence the expansion of its offices.
His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo told us that he wants to regularize mining in such a way that we will all benefit from it as Ghanaians, and also ensure the protection of our environment. To ensure that this can be done, we were mandated to expand our offices across the country to draw closer to the mining companies, especially our small-scale mining companies, to effectively monitor their activities to ensure we protect our forest reserves and our river bodies.
Osiadia Dr. Frimpong Manso IV, the paramount chief of the Achim Kotoku traditional area, expressed his delight at the impending arrival of the community mining scheme and praised the lands minister for fulfilling the request of the MP and the residents.
Now to some stories from our business updates. Research lead at GCB Capital, Courage Buti, has welcomed moves by the Bank of Ghana to strengthen the city, but says those interventions are not sustainable. According to him, the central bank must focus its lenses on how to address speculations rather than paying attention to supply levels. His comment is coming at a time the cedi has witnessed some marginal gains this week to the dollar by 0.41%. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Buti called on the regulator to eradicate the speculative triggers to achieve a long-term stability.
Of intervention that is bringing the correction, I don't think we can sustain that for a long time. So we need ultimately not just be providing like supply to meet the demand levels. There's a certain level of frivolity in the levels of demand you are seeing. So we need to be able to separate effective demand from those that are speculating and then meet those. For instance, if Bank of Ghana, just for argument's sake, is doing $50 million every week as intervention, is it something we can sustain for the next maybe 7, 5, 6 months? I don't think so. Ultimately, it has to come back to a level that is sustainable. That is what I mean. So the correction, whether it will continue or not, and where it could get to will depend on how we effectively anchor sentiment. So effectively me saying that if you can eradicate the speculative triggers, then you can get a long-term stability. But if it's about just injecting liquidity now to fuel or to meet the levels of demand there, how long can we go with the interventions we're having now? That's the point I'm making.
The government has cleared its indebtedness to the Social Security and National Insurance Trust in terms of public sector workers' contributions. About 2.6 billion cedis was made to the trust last month. Chief Executive of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, John Kwenin Mbroa, disclosed this on PM Express Business Edition, which airs tonight on Joy News at 9 p.m. He says they are working to ensure that government meets its commitment on time.
Very well, dotted reasonably throughout the country, have compliance, and therefore they have a mandate also for Tier 1. So many people do the Tier 1. Tier 2, yes, we'll have to come behind the schemes that are going around and the reports that we get from individuals who are working for some entities that are not paying, and our own compliance soups that we do. And these are the tools or the strategies that we use to actually catch up with those who are perhaps doing Tier 1 and not doing Tier 2. These are mandatory schemes, as you know. Tier 1 is mandatory, Tier 2. Once you employ somebody, you are supposed to pay Tier 1 and Tier 2. So we are doing a lot in terms of compliance to ensure that people pay. But if you don't pay, and then somebody reports you or we find out, there is this surcharge that we apply. The law enjoins you to pay 3% surcharge. And we make sure that those things are done, and failure of which then we hold it before a judge. Prosecutions, and as I think you are aware.
Are you doing that? Has it gotten to that stage where you have to pull employer?
Oh yes, several of them. We've done several prosecutions. We've sent about 40 or more than 40 cases, and some of them have actually complied by paying. We've retrieved about 20 million from indeed prosecutions.
The last story actually aired yesterday, but you can catch the full interview on our social media platforms, especially on YouTube. And that's how we're wrapping up for business updates, as well as the AM News. Coming up next is News Review. I'll be joined by Nanayao Sapong, Political Assistant to Alan Tremanting, and Remy Edmondson from the PPP. Stick and stay. Welcome aboard the news review segment on the AM show. Gentle reminder that this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening at several locations. They're here in Accra on the Spintex Road, opposite the Shell signboard, and in Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. In Takrade, they're at Anaji Estate, and in Tema Community 22, in Techiman, Hanswa, Esiama, and Zima. You can call them on 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Like Benjamin said, bringing us the start of the newspaper review segment. And my guest in the studio with me this morning is Nana Yao Sapong, political assistant to Alan Shremanteng. You're welcome, Nana Yao.
Thank you, sweetie.
How are you feeling?
Good. The weather has been kind to us.
Yeah.
And we're grateful to God.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like we do on the show, you have about a minute or two maximum to reflect on any issue of national interest that, you want to speak to. So what's on your mind this morning?
What actually has been on my mind, and I think it's been on every Ghanaian's mind, first of all, I would say good morning to your viewers, your cherished viewers, and you have a beautiful studio.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and I was talking to you.
Is this your first time here?
Yes, so on the other side we've been there, but this place is...
But we posted you before. Was it on Zoom?
It was on Zoom.
Right, okay. All right.
And yes, of course, your colleague was smart about it. He says, this is Joy News. Yes. I said, yes, it's Joy News.
Yes, we are Joy News.
Right. So actually what has been on my mind, and I know is on every Ghanaian's mind, has to do with the issue of our economy and how we are able to stabilize it. And I think that Alan Shremanteng has repeatedly drawn our attention to the dramatic depreciation of the cedi. And he stated that this is actually as a result of two key fundamental causes. All right, first of all, that the systematic failure over the years, all right, to focus on promoting and expanding exports, all right, and also enhancing import substitution. And actually, this is something that is very fundamental, and everybody knows is draining our economy. He's also stated the loss of confidence in the economy arising from the current economic, what he terms the economic crisis, which is as a result of speculation and significant surge in demand for foreign exchange. And if you do not fix these two fundamentals very right, we would always go around the table as if the economy is doing well, as if we ought to be able to fix the economy. And when we do that, you will notice that it brings peace to every aspect of everyone's life. You will not go to Makola and hear people making noise about the dollar. You will not come to the studios and hear people talking about the dollar. And he stated that to restore the confidence, it's first of all, you need a change in leadership because we need a new face. The foreign investors or even the local investors would have more confidence, all right, in our economy when we have a new face that they can trust, and they will not be able to actually dent any element on their character.
Right.
And I think it's that should take us beyond the duopoly. All right, we ought to be able to go beyond the duopoly, bring up new leadership, a new face that has a transformational mind. All right, that person would be able to actually fix the country and its economy. And I think every Ghanaian has been thinking about it. And
right.
I think I'm speaking for the masses.
I mean, I agree with you. I was in the market 2 days ago to assess the real situation on ground, and the hike in food prices was terrific.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask, though, Alan was trade and industry
Yes, he was trade and industry
All
minister.
these things he's proposing now to help, you know, arrest the free fall of the city. What did he do when he had
when he was trade minister?
Yeah.
I think that his achievement speaks for himself. If you look at the achievement of Alan as trade minister, setting the foundation for even trade surplus at the time, it speaks for itself. And when he was trade minister, he was able to actually bring in 5 huge automobile industries. They were to assemble vehicles in this country, sell them and export them.
Right.
If you go to the export promotion, the GEPA office now, there's a new trade export strategic plan that he left behind.
But I say all that to ask that, is it in alignment with what the Vice President has been saying, that he doesn't have the steering wheel? So maybe when Alan was Trade and Industry Minister, he couldn't do as much, but now that...
You and I understand from the fundamentals, or even from the fundamentals of it, that the Vice President is in a better position than an ordinary cabinet minister. The Vice President has an executive power.
Right.
The minister has a ministerial power. He reports to them. And at cabinets, if he has made submissions, if he has brought in proposals to take certain measures, and as the chairman of the economic management team, he's the lead advice to the president on issues of economy. And if your ministers have brought advices and proposals and you have not taken them up, the minister should not be held responsible.
Okay.
Those that were in his capacity as minister, he was able to do it. I mean, he lobbied to bring about the AFCFTA, which is actually putting Ghana on the map.
Is it?
The biggest.
Okay, we have to get into our papers. And
Very
in
well
the course of the conversation, I'm sure you get the chance to elaborate more on these points. But let me start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, court dismisses Forsen JAPA applications, advises AG to recuse himself. I'll do that story first. Now, the High Court has dismissed different applications inviting it to order mistrial, strikeout charges, and stay proceedings over a leaked audio between the Attorney General and Minister of Justice and accused person in the case in which the minority leader in Parliament, Dr. Kasolato Forsen, and a businessman are standing trial for allegedly causing a financial loss of 2.37 million euros to the state. Now, the application inviting it to order an inquiry into the, let me find that continuation, the alleged conduct of the AG as captured in the audio, the court held that it had no jurisdiction to undertake an inquiry into the conduct of the Attorney General. It instead stated that jurisdiction on criminal proceedings must not be implied. It cannot be inferred. In addition, the court said no legal basis had been provided by the applicant. But before we take our reactions, let me welcome Remy Edmondson, National Secretary of the PPP, to the conversation. Welcome, Remy.
Thank you, Suti. Looking great this morning.
Thank you. So I'll give you a minute to get into any issue of interest to you, issue of national interest. But let me get back to Nanaya on this story before I come back to you, because you were listening with keen interest. What do you think about all of this? I mean, when I read this, I was following yesterday, and two things. Indeed, when we listened to the audio, there was no point where the AG actually said that Richard Jakpa should do anything to incriminate the minority leader. But what are your thoughts? I want to find out how you feel about all this.
Personally, this particular case has put Ghana up on a bad taste. Myself, I mean, I've been thinking about it. All right, we have the main issue, which has to do with causing financial loss to the state, which myself and you, it's the taxpayers' money that has been actually, for lack of a better expression, stolen. All right, and so we should put in all efforts to be able to take back what belongs to the nation. But then, I mean, I have a stand on my good brother Godfred, and I've said that, listen, he's a fine gentleman, right? And just as many people have advised that, listen, why don't you take a step back and then clear yourself of all these brouhaha, all right? So it is his word against that of Japa.
Right.
But let's find a neutral ground. All right, you clear yourself, you come back. It should not stop Ghana from pursuing the 2.3 million euros, I mean, loss that has been caused the state. We need our money back. All right, this has been the case. This has always been the issue when it comes to corruption.
Right.
The NDC and the MPP would always want to play draft with us. You understand? And I think that it is time that we actually put in much more efforts. These two political parties, in my view, do not have the political will and do not have that moral ground to be able to fight corruption.
Okay.
That is my view, because if it were the NDC on the other side, they would do the same. I think we've had issues of Wyoming, we've had issues of this guinea fowl and all of that. And you would notice that any time it has to do with these two political parties, they play games with us. The minority leader, I mean, the case was in court before he was made minority leader. So among all the parliamentary, the MPs of the NDC in parliament, with this case in court, they did not find an ideal person but force him. I mean, let's not play games.
Remy, what's on your mind before we get into the papers?
Yes, it's a publication on your portal this morning about the SNIT.
Right.
The National Pension Regulatory Authority is vowing swift action on. You remember a few weeks ago, the ILO gave a report projection that by 2036, SNIT reserves would have been depleted and they would be able to pay pension. Yes, and now the NPRA is vowing that they are going to put in place measures to ensure that that is restored, where he outlined certain measures citizens are taking. But I find this coming a bit rather late, because I don't think it should have taken an international body to have done this study. I don't know if they are sleeping on the job, but we've had so many for years gone by where Senate has consistently made bad investments, especially in real estate, questionable investments. And recently we are hearing of a purported sale to Rock City Hotels, where, I mean, others digging into the matter are coming out with documents to suggest that the whole sale will not be in the best interest of citizens, and particularly workers whose investments are being used. So I think it's important that going forward, I would urge the NPRA, the State Management Council, to set up and ensure that whatever investments going forward are made should be done with due diligence, and to ensure that the best revenue, the best investment is what they will sink workers' monies into, to ensure that the nation reaps its benefits, and also ensure that any adequate measures that need to be put in must be put into forestall the Senate collapsing in the nation, because it will be very disastrous that somebody has worked for decades, 30 years, 20 years, and then it gets to a time when he goes on pension and he cannot be paid. That would be disastrous.
Right. Disastrous. And I'm really wondering what's happening with Trade Union Congress. They said they were going to embark on a never-seen-before industrial action against SNIT if they proceeded with the sale of the hotels. Maybe I just need to follow up on that. Now, do you want to talk about this, or should we get into the other stories in the newspaper? The court's advising the Attorney General to recuse himself. Yesterday, there was some misinformation or confusion about the wording of what the Chief Justice, Justice actually said, whether advising him to recuse himself or telling him emphatically to recuse himself. But what are your thoughts?
Yes, I don't think he should have got into this, as my brother rightly pointed out. I mean, I would want the Attorney General to look at it. It's about the interest of ensuring the sanctity of the judiciary, and especially enforcing and enhancing trust by the ordinary Ghanaian in the judiciary service. So he should have taken the right steps and just even if he's not going to resign, yes, I mean, step away from this case, because clearly you've been tainted. And what worries me is these subtle jabs of he's now, like I said, he still hasn't responded personally to tell us whether this audio tape is true or not. But
he said every evil that is prevailing against him.
Insinuations, yes, subtle insinuations.
That's a response in itself,
but
is it not?
Let us know, can be categorical. Yeah. It's true. I believe it's doctored. It's his party.
That all of this.
It is his party that is now his PR stating that the tape is doctored. He has said nothing, rather giving insinuations. But I think what he's doing doesn't inspire confidence. It suggests some ulterior motive, it suggests some agenda in place. And I think going forward, I hope he will really reconsider and step aside from this case. And he has competent deputies who can take over. Because, mind you, whatever the outcome might be, assuming the accused persons are proven guilty, they might say that he manipulated the scene somewhere. Somebody said, and this is the danger of it, that if he's able to call the accused, what stops him from calling the judge and making or anybody and manipulating the scenes? So these are the real worries that I think he should look at and respectfully step aside.
Right. Just to add to that a quick one, you see the AG's position, the position of the AG even per the constitution, all right, puts him in a very advantageous and strategic line. Okay, he is the chief prosecutor of every criminal matter of the nation. And per the rules, I think that he is a bridge between the judiciary and the executive. All right, he's a minister of state, justice.
Yeah.
And he is the
lawyer.
people's lawyer. So at the end of the day, okay, if we, our lawyer, okay, somebody who is supposed to be responsible for every single advice legally to the president and to the government, all right, is set to, you know, have been involved in such a thing. It doesn't speak well. The confidence, it reduces the confidence people would have in the judiciary itself, all right, and in the service of justice.
Okay. Let's get into other stories now. Still on the Daily Graphic newspaper. Opinion polls wake-up call for parties, political scientists. Green Ghana Day. Today's Green Ghana Day. Lands Minister urges all to plant trees. Still on the front page. Not all multi-year contracts must come before Parliament, according to Majority Leader. And on the Pong Katamanso NDC issue, stronghold industrial hub. So let's get into the story. 150 villagers feared dead in Sudan massacre. Lavrov wraps up Africa tour, that is on international front. What is morality to a cockroach? An editorial. I like to read that, but this is not what I want to do right now. World leaders, veterans mark D-Day's 80th anniversary. Just going through some quick headlines in the Daily Graphic newspaper, and then when we see a story that we want to get into, then we do that. Opinion polls wake up for parties. Yes, let's do this. So last Wednesday's baseline survey released by Professor Smart Sapong of the Kumasi Technical University has elicited mixed reactions, with two political scientists stating that the outcome of the 2024 elections is far from decided, giving the numbers of undecided voters as contained in different polls. One other said it called for deeper strategies among the political parties, while another said it should be a wake-up call for political parties and candidates interested in winning the upcoming elections to pay keen attention to and proffer practical solutions to the gaping youth unemployment crisis in the country. Now, the baseline survey report highlighted the strengths of the National Democratic Congress as a party and Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as a candidate for 2024 general elections. It stated that Dr. Bawumia led as the preferred presidential candidates for the 2024 elections, although the NDC remained the preferred party for the majority of the voter population. The survey was conducted in April 2024. Interesting there. So the vice president as a leading candidate, but the NDC as the leading party. What are your thoughts? Nanayao?
When I read it, I think this whole news started somewhere within the week. I heard Smart Sapon being granted some interviews across, and it was of so much interest to me. The current state of Ghana's economy itself should tell you that the vice president cannot be the most preferred presidential candidate.
But it was a survey they conducted.
We've come across a lot of surveys, we've come across a lot of polls, but is that what you hear when you go out there? I mean, sweetie, you've been going out.
Yeah.
You've been going to the markets. Is that what you hear? Is that what you see? Is that what you feel? Let us be honest with ourselves. You understand? The ordinary Ghanaian is tired of the duopoly. The ordinary Ghanaian
so what
is
are you
tired.
doing? The other political parties did. What are you doing about it?
We're doing a lot.
The PPP here, we have Alliance. Is this the Alliance for Revolutionary Change? Yes.
Of course.
What are you doing about it?
And that is a cry of Ghanaians. All right. So Ghanaians are saying that, listen, we need a new face. We need a new leadership. And that is what that is the main objective for the establishment of the movement for change. And that is what inspired the coming together of the smaller parties, some of the smaller parties that came together to form the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, of which we are very confident that soon we will be having the PPP come on
Join
board.
You, huh?
Join on board.
So I was speaking to Dr. Kwame Asasante, I think 2 days ago, and he said categorically that it's impossible for us to break the duopoly because of the system, the kind of party system we ran, you know. and the 50+1% win. So it's very difficult unless you all decide to come together as one.
It's happened in South Africa. They are now going in for a coalition government.
Let me hear Remi's thoughts on this. He's been quiet for a while.
Yes, so the poll in itself was conducted by I find it questionable because it was conducted by a very openly partisan MPP member. And I just see it as an attempt to try and project Dr. Bawumia in a certain light. He's recently gone on a frenzy of promises on a very weekly basis. Was it 2 days ago, I read something about something to do with the chieftaincy, something to do with paying them. I keep asking myself, a lot of these things, why doesn't he start them now?
He doesn't, he's not in the driver's seat.
No. Oh. You're saying that you want to, let me take away the paying of salary, yes. But let's say you're saying you want to solve the issue of chieftaincy clashes, which is very important, I agree with. You want to codify and put in a system to ensure that only legitimate, people. You can start that in the process now. And then let's see that, but why do you want to get the position before you can do everything you are saying? I found that questionable. But like, you see, there is so much. I don't see how Ghanaians are really suffering over. I mean, look at the petrol prices just increased again 2 days ago. The instance of corruption that this government virtually has given up has overwhelmed this government.
The electricity is going to go up again.
Exactly. So I mean, talking about votes, Ghanaians really want a change.
What do you think we are voting for this year? What do you think Ghanaians are voting for? And what about what we are voting for inspires confidence in both of you and representatives of your various political parties?
Yes, it's become very glaring now that the two major political parties simply take turns in looting the state. I mean, when in opposition, they have all the ideas, they have all the solutions, all the strategies to move this country forward, to stop corruption, to stop inflation, to improve the economy. Suddenly, when they win power, all we hear about is, a lot of financial malfeasance. And I see it's very clear that none of them is very much interested in really moving this country forward. And that's a fact. You can see from their decisions and what comes out of it. And so, Ghanaians are fed up with these two. If you go to the street, if you talk to the other Ghanaian, it's very clear. Even people who are very openly partisan for either NPP or NDC will tell you that you understand? So, and they urge us to, double up our efforts, as in we, the political parties, not in government. And so, yes, we as a party are open to a coalition going to this election because it's important that we are very confident that once we put our strengths together, yes, it's not just South Africa, there are other African countries that have also...
And I just invited you to join. No, so what, are you going
no, we are not. There have been talks with other
Oh, there's been talks between the two parties.
And with some of the others, with others as well. But
Sweetie, what you should understand is that Ghanaians are tired.
Yes.
The silent majority, you understand. And this year, 2024, you are asking what Ghanaians will be voting for. Ghanaians will be voting for new confidence. Ghanaians will be voting for a new leadership. Ghanaians will be voting for transformation. Ghanaians are going out there to vote for character, competence, and credibility. All right, and trust me, when you have lined up let me add the other gentleman. If you add up the four gentlemen who have actually put up themselves for elections come December 2024, you will notice that Alan Chamantin stands out tall in terms of private achievements and even as a minister, you understand. And that is what Ghanaians are in for somebody who has a plan to be able to take us out of these current economical woes. If you go to Makola, if you go to Tamale Market in the Abu, if you go to the Okanshis, that is where you would understand. Myself and you sitting here with our beautiful dresses might not be able to understand what it takes for that ordinary woman to go out there to the farm gate, bring those tomatoes to the market and sell to make a living. If we actually are involved in these petty trades, if we actually are involved in wanting to import, if you're actually involved in paying salaries at the end of the month, you would understand where the economy is going.
All right. Let's move on to another paper now, and then I'll come to you, gentlemen. The New Finder newspaper now, on the front page, trial will proceed. Judge dismisses 5 applications seeking to halt the case. Taxing lottery wins counterproductive, according to an expert. Illegal miners occupy new Kojokro-Mansu railway lines. Ghana beats Mali 2-1 in 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Let's start with this. Taxing lottery wins counterproductive. That story is on page 9 of the New Finder newspaper, and I'll get to it in a bit. So, legal advisor to the European lotteries, Mr. Felipe Vlaminck, has urged reconsideration of taxing lottery winners, arguing that such practices are counterproductive and diminish the appeal of the game. Now, addressing a training session organized by the NLA in Ghana, Mr. Vlaminck emphasized that taxes on lottery winnings disincentivize players and ultimately harm both lottery institutions and good causes funded by lottery revenues. What do you think about this? I think we're taking 10% now on lottery winnings.
10% withholding tax on betting
and all that.
Lottery winnings.
We need to mobilize funds. Is that a good avenue to make some money for the country, for the state?
I think that there are a lot more avenues. And I am of strong belief that we should be able to deal with the leakages in our tax basket. All right. I have heard a lot of tax experts say that if we are able to block the leakages within the tax basket, what we're going to earn at the end of the year, all right, will be more than what we are actually gaining now. And there are many more avenues that we can make a lot of money. I don't know if your news decks would want to research on property tax alone, property rate.
Right.
Then they should be able to tell us how many of these properties in Ghana are paid their taxes.
Okay.
All right. There are many avenues that we should be able to. Sweetie, there is actually the need for us to have a review of the tax regime system. So if you've had an opportunity to read the Great Transformational Plan that was actually put out by Alan Tremontin, he has proposed that there should be a review of our tax regime. There's so much pressure on our ports and harbors. It's literally that is where we get all our money. And when they go there and they do not find money, then they would want to come and actually, worry the little ones that are around.
Right.
You find quite worrying that the GRA, I mean, the government of Ghana said where it tends to give a lot of tax holidays to mounting to millions of cedis. And I mean, quite recently, you found the majority claiming they had blocked about a figure in the region of 200 million plus. I always ask myself, I mean, what value for money analysis is done before awarding these tax holidays to these companies? And do we really get back later to ensure that the reasons for which they were giving these tax holidays are being met? Because at the end of the day, the Ghanaian government the Ghanaian citizen and populace should benefit from these holidays. I don't see them being extended to the ordinary Ghanaian. And we have the situation where, yes, Ghanaian businesses are being burdened, the individual also being burdened with so many taxes on virtually everything we consume or we purchase. So yes, it's important for the GRA to really look at, I mean, as I've described them as using a very lazy approach, a lazy way, going for the easy avenues. Yes, but low-hanging fruit, that's the word I wanted to use. But I think it's important to ensure that we expand, there's been always this call for the GRA to expand the tax bracket, because there are so many of our informal sector workers who are not paying tax. And trust me, these people are very willing. If you talk to them, I mean, my nature of business, I engage with them. They are willing to pay. You understand? Once they know for a fact that my taxes are going to be used for roads, for drinking water, they are willing to pay. But GRA has still not found a way to tap into this very large pool of, business people to ensure that we expand and increase the tax revenue, and rather keep still focused on a very narrow angle, easy areas where they come. I think that does not go well. It's important that they sit up and.
When it comes to Ghana and our tax systems, I think the disparity between the rich and the gap between the rich and the poor just keeps widening. And they just keep taking from the poor. Anyway, let me just quickly run through some headlines on the New Finder newspaper, and then you can. I'll come to you, Remy, first. So, reprioritize railway for faster economic development, according to the minister. Suhuyini urges mining companies to retain profits in Ghana to accelerate economic development. Akako woos Malaysia in her Commonwealth Secretary General bid. Congratulations to her. All the best to her. IFRC commits $1 million to local-led climate actions in Ghana. Discharge duties within law. First NCA Dispute Resolution Committee charged. These and other stories in the New Finder newspaper. Pick one for yourself and get into the stories. Let's go to the papers that Remy has, and then we go to Nanael.
Okay, so I have the Ghanaian publisher here. Front page says, Jospon seeks support for African business. And then Ghana marks 4th Green Ghana Day today. 41 million trees planted so far. Ambulance trial court rejects Atufosin's mistrial application on page 3. And then on page 2, Afenyo Makin frustrated with minority caucus. And then
tax waivers, I guess.
And then the APN to hold international symposium on interoperability.
Any of these stories you want to get into?
Yes. So I have here also page 3, voter transfer exercise. Peace Council urges NDC and MPP to maintain circumspection.
Right.
I'm sure that issue, it's all related to the brouhaha of the EC's directive and then turnaround time.
But what are they scared of? What is the NDC and the MPP scared of?
What are they scared of?
Yeah.
There are two major political parties.
Yes.
Around this time of year, it's just everyone is alert.
Right.
To be sure that the EC doesn't sway or lean a certain way in favor of or in favor against another party.
But have you noticed? Have you noticed that when a party is in power, it supports everything that the EC
100%.
does. And when they are in opposition, they are against everything that the EC does.
But
if we've been able to have an established and well-implemented laws by the EC and procedures by the EC, I do not think anybody should be scared of nothing.
Exactly. And so, I mean, the reason none of the two is comfortable with the EC is somebody would say they know what they do with the EC when they're in power.
So their capabilities are haunting them.
Yes, and so it calls for, you see, like I said earlier, none of these parties, when they get to power, are interested. All the things they complain about when they're in opposition, when they come in, they have all the power, they have all the time, 8 years, to implement these changes. But they rather take advantage of the loopholes in our constitutional framework for their interest. And I mean, on this issue, it's been said time and time again that BP has said that let us ensure a very open and transparent way of appointing the electoral commissioner and deputies. It's going to solve all this. So long as the sitting president appoints the EC, appoints commissioners, and you heard what happened when some new commissioners, deputy were appointed, and it was said that one particular individual was an MPP member, you see.
Okay.
And so it's important to ensure that let's stop the president from appointing the EC. Let's have, if it's parliament or some other constitutional body that is set up, a very independent way. Then nobody can say that if they take any decision against a particular party, you cannot say that it was appointed, he or she was appointed by the president, so he's acting in the interest of the party.
All right. That's the Guardian publisher.
Yes, I would just want to touch on the railway.
Right. We have just a few minutes to go.
I think that the railway sector is one sector that we ought to be able to look at if indeed we want to go transformational, industrial transformation, as Alan has been touting. And I think that even in the advanced world, the mode of transport and the introduction of railways across has actually helped. If you look at what we wanted to do with the Greater Kumasi industrial park, I think that having a very solid and robust railway system is going to help. And the government should be committed in actually investing. If they have to invite the private sector into actually investing into the railway sector, is going to help. Yes.
Remy, do you want to complete your papers?
Yes. So I have the custodian, the same, the main headlines, tree planting today, the Japa case, Jospon, and then Amafi Central, NDC on fire. SNET contributors, pensioners to receive automatic NHIS card renewals, and Yeah, it's the same stories before. But yes, on the NHIS, I think just a few days ago, the NHI announced that there was going to be some support for dialysis patients.
Renal
it was a good move. It's something that we've called for some time, but we still urge them to do more because I find it quite insufficient. Because if you realize the age groups, the age brackets they're going to take care of, those below 18, those above 60, the majority of patients lie within the brackets they have excluded. Most of it, if you visit our hospitals, most of the patients are people within our age group, people within their 30s, 40s. These are the people who really need this intervention. And mind you, the government owes them about 23.4 billion cedis.
And even, although they said that they're going to absorb the cost, our checks reveal that patients are still paying for their own treatment. In Kumasi and here in Accra.
You understand? So, I mean,
but Dr. Dakosa Abuaje did say that eventually the monies will be returned to them through the hospital. So we wait and see how that
Exactly. But I think most importantly, we need the government to give them the money because it's not just the dialysis patients who are suffering. I mean, all of us are suffering because the hospitals are finding they get their NHI pays the money too late. We have supply friends who are supplying the pharmaceutical industry who tell you they get their money sometime after 6 months. And so you have private hospitals who now, if you go, they will tell you that maybe the drugs are on it. They will just tell you they don't have it. Go and buy out there. Because they wouldn't want to sink in their money, purchase the drugs, and then the government doesn't pay on time. By the time even the money is paid, the value, look at where the dollar is now. 6 months ago, where the dollar was, if he's going to get it now, it's lost value.
We are chasing
It's bad for business and it's killing businesses.
Right. Okay, let's go to Nanayao now for your papers.
But you know, sweetie, I don't envy your job at all.
Okay,
because when I picked the Daily Guide, then I saw Baumia Tao's achievements. Then I was trying to ask myself, chasing the dollar?
It says election year. They're all campaigning.
His major achievements are promises.
Some of his achievements.
Are promises.
I saw that and it's like,
right.
Okay. And so that court throws out at a Folsom JACPA application and GRA SML deal. Minority missed the point. Afenyo Markins. And we have the NDC
Actually, could we get into that story? I saw you read a headline about Afenyo Markins frustrated over something.
Yes.
Yeah. What is
that
what
is
is
on
his
page
frustration
6.
coming from?
Page 6. It has to do with the GRA SML.
Okay.
And personally, with this story, when it broke out, I have been asking myself, do we not have experts at the GRA to be able to handle all of these issues? And are we not in the position to train experts since we decided to go into oil? I mean, we should have known this long ago. It says that Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo Markins has said the minority in parliament missed the point with the Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, SML, and the Ghana Revenue Authority deal. Addressing the press during its putting out the fact series in Accra, Mr. Afenyo Markins said the minority is misleading Ghanaians about the award of multi-year contracts by some government agencies. The minority leader, Dr. Attoforson, in the past weeks have accused the government of breaching the Public Financial Management Act by signing a long-term contract without getting Parliament's approval first. But Mr. Afenyo Markins said the accusations of the government agency signing long-term contracts in the contravention of the PFM Act is a deception and an attempt to make the government appear bad in the eyes of the people.
Okay.
That's interesting.
I just a little take on this. You see, the majority is having to, I mean, yes, raise these issues in Parliament because we find that our corruption agencies largely have been rendered moot and ineffective. And then even our government agencies. You remember on this SML issue, the PPA on 3 occasions denied the request.
Yes.
You understand?
They want to change their name from SMEL
Good. And then
to
they
SML.
had to, GRA had to find in a way to smuggle them.
And they owe us about 18.15 million Ghana cedis.
So I mean, if the minority feels that it's in Parliament that they have a voice, because out there they have no, if these issues go to charge, if you go to Yoko or wherever,
right.
special prosecutor, We are seeing at least a trend
just
where
to add up, you see,
they are just whitewashed.
The SML, if I understand their contract very well, was to actually enhance revenue assurance. Am I right?
Right.
Revenue collection, so that they are not leaked. But
Downstream
as you said, they themselves are owing in taxes.
Yeah.
So where then are we?
3.5 million.
I mean, where are we heading?
We have a minute or so. I want to know.
So who watches over
what
the
other
watchman?
headlines you have, and then we can wrap up.
So I think we're done with the headlines.
Okay. You have two papers.
And then I have the Daily Searchlight, Arthur Forson's Fanciful Motions Crash in Flames.
Each newspaper has their own way of...
Very colorful.
Yeah,
very
depending on the affiliation.
Yeah, okay.
And then Galamsey is the cause of high cost of vegetables.
Okay.
Gawu. And of course, they are destroying all our water bodies. Right. And we were talking about this kidney and other related illnesses.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just because some can be attributed to these acts of Galamsey, because they're destroying the water bodies, the chemicals they are using actually affect
taking over farms as well.
Taking over farms and
arable land,
destroying
I'll
lands.
give you each 30 seconds to share your final thoughts, and then we can wrap up. Remy, you want to go first?
Okay. So I'll just end up on the ongoing voter transfer exercise. This is also with the EC. We want to urge the Electoral Commissioner to embrace the IPAC stakeholder body and urge them that, I mean, decisions, as much as they are the body mandated by the Constitution to organize and then manage elections in the body, there was a reason the IPAC was set up to advise. IPAC is not made up just only of political parties. There are also CSOs and some diplomatic missions as well who are allowed to come in to observe. And occasionally they are also given the permission to put in their voice. But we find a situation where sometimes the EC still goes ahead, rubbishes all the good inputs, even when there's an overwhelming input from political parties. And an example is just what happened. They are released on Sunday, and then after having to backtrack after all the...
Well, they listened. That's what you're asking for, right?
Yes, but you see, they always, this move was quite unnecessary because you had called us for a meeting on Monday, and then I think you had Dr. Yes, I watched that. You had called us on Monday, and you couldn't wait. We had all agreed on Wednesday. So it was just nice that wait for us and let's all,
All right,
discuss these issues.
Final words, 30 seconds.
We ought to be able to restore confidence in our economy, and the NDC and the NPP as it stands do not have what it takes to be able to restore it. There is a need for new leadership, and that is what Alan Chamantina has been preaching, and many more Ghanaians. I mean, all the minority parties and every well-meaning Ghanaian is actually preaching and pushing for a change and a new force to be pushed.
I'm looking forward to see if this partnership between the PPP and the ARC will come to fruition.
Of course,
that's how we're wrapping up for.
We are very good friends, and they would come.
Okay,
they're going to come. Papa Kwesi is a businessman.
Yes, I know.
And with what is happening in the business world with the current government, I think that once he still has that mindset of creating jobs for the people, he understands well the great transformational plan that Alan wants to bring about.
Thank you. So this segment is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. You can locate them here in Accra on the Spintex Road, opposite the Shell signboard, in Kumasi, Kronomabuenya, behind the Angel Educational Complex, in Takoradi, Anaji Estate, in Tema Community 22, and in Techima Hansua and Esiama in Zima. Their call lines are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic diseases. My guest in the studio for the news review this morning was Remy Edmondson of the PPP and Nanayal Sapong, the political assistant to Alan Chamantina. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us for breakfast. All right, there's still more to come. There's sports, and then there's Benjamin Akako's blunt thought. You don't want to go away.
Morning is the Friday edition of Sports on the AM show My name is Haruna Mubarak, and the Black Stars are now firmly in the race to qualify for the 2026 World Cup following their dramatic 2-1 comeback win over Mali in Bamako. Now, Kamore Doumbia, he gave Mali the lead just before halftime, but Ernest Nuama equalized with a header close to the hour mark. Then substitute Jordan Ayew netted in injury time to secure Ghana's first win of 2024. Highlights for you.
Long ball into the area. The keeper hesitates, doesn't come for it. Perhaps, but maybe not too crucial in the grand scheme of things as that shot comes in, stings the palms of the keeper, and eventually cleared from inside the six. That was the shot that came in. Not easy, nicely played. Ghana coming forwards here. Here's Lamptey. And he's just shanked that cross. Throw again. This time goes long. Ball over the top. The defenders missed it. Thankfully for him, teammate covering him behind. Goes for the penalty spot. There's a sprawling save there from Mati Ziggy. Danger not gone yet. And bring the ball forwards. Doumbia turns, twists, tries to pull the trigger. Now the shot comes in here. Well blocked. A nice ball through for Semenyo making the run here. He's one-on-one with the last defender, Semenyo. Cuts inside, pulls the trigger just over the bar. 2 minutes of time added on at the end of the first half. Ball goes long, that's well one on the edge of the area. The cut back as well, the shot blocked. And then the rebound, double rebound and in for the opener. And on the stroke of half-time. Here we go. The ball came in. The shot from Doumbia blocked. Ball whipped into the back post, and there's the equaliser. Ernest Nuama. The ball swung in from the right. It was a perfect delivery. The 35 out there. Oh, great twisting and turning here. The crowd loving that. And here comes the shot. It's just wide of the upright from Toure. The ball lost there. And now Jordan Ayew comes forward. Diagonal run. Oh, what a beautiful pass through there. And a brilliant save for Mamadou Samassa. It was the Ghana captain, Thomas. Rather shrugs his shoulders when he realises there was no one anywhere near, but they're both in one height. The pitch here again by Ghana. Are they alive to the danger here? Brilliant tackle. Oh, it's saved on the line. And the shot comes in, and that's the winner, surely. Ghana. The substitutes invade the pitch. And really, having been on the back foot for most of the game, it looks like they're going to take all 3 points.
Well, really big win for Ghana. Then let's check out how the victory has impacted the Group I table. Obviously, Ghana will no longer be in 5th. Ghana has moved from the 5th position to the 2nd position with 6 points. And then Mali are in 3rd. They've got 4. Central African Republic have got 4. And then Madagascar are in 5th. They've got 3 points. Chad have got 0 points. Now, what it means is that should Ghana win against Central African Republic and Comoros lose their next game, they stand a chance of surpassing Comoros. Comoros actually play today. They face Madagascar. They travel away to face Madagascar. So that will be a crucial game for the Black Stars there. It's a match that obviously Ghanaians will be monitoring because we hope that Comoros will lose that particular game. Then they can be on level points with Black Stars. Now let's check out the Joy Sports ratings as a result of yesterday's game. So Lawrence Atizigi, he made crucial saves in the early exchanges of the game. I mean, he kept Ghana in that particular game. If not for his saves, Ghana would have conceded 2 goals at least in the first half. We got Ali Diseidu, we gave him 6, Alexander Jiku, and then Mohamed Salisu, they also did very well at the back there in that 3-man defense Thomas Partey and then Abdul Salih Semed. They also did great in midfield. Thomas Partey, he had a really, really big chance to put Ghana in the lead in that particular game, but obviously he missed that particular chance. And then Abdul Salih Semed, he gave an absolute pinpoint cross into the 18-yard box for Enes Nuyama to finish up. That is the equalizer. Gideon Mensah, he was okay, but he was culpable for the goal Ghana conceded. His falling on the ground opened up space for the Malians to attack the Black Stars, and that led to the opening goal. Now we've got Tariq Lamptey. He did so well. He bumped in forward. He also tracked back, and then he helped in the back five system of Otto Addo. Kudus wasn't so imposing in the game. We gave him 5 over 10. Antoine Semenyo, he could have scored a hat-trick in yesterday's game, but he missed all those chances. And then Enes Nuyama, really, really good header there. He leaped so well to get the equalizer for the Black Stars. We can just look at the substitute. Jordan Ayew, he created a chance for Thomas Partey, and that chance, obviously, the Black Stars did not materialize that particular chance. And then he scored the winning goal as well. He's been rated 7. Fatau Isahaku, he forced the Malian defender to make a mistake. He took the ball, surged the ball into the 18-yard box, and then that opportunity opened up for Jordan Ayew to score the winning goal. Ibrahim Suleimana, he came up and then shore up the midfield. We have Abdul Momin and, of course, Elisha Osu. They all came in and contributed to the Black Stars' 2-1 dramatic win over Mali. Now, as a result of this performance, the head coach of the Black Stars, Otto Addo, has been talking, and he has hailed the fighting spirit of the players.
Problems in the first 20 minutes. Mali made good pressing. We had difficulties to stand firm, and we allowed too many chances. After that, I think the tempo of the game went down, and we controlled the game to the half break. It was a little bit unnecessary to get the 0-1. I think it was also a little bit a lucky goal. But in the second half, we came back strong. I think we deserved to make the equalizer. We had some good crosses, some good chances, which we went in, and then we scored. And then also, after Mali made some changes, we had some difficulties. They brought some freshmen. And so we also, I think, made two changes, and this is very, very important for the team to understand that this is a team. Not only the first 11 decides the game, also those who come from the bench, and Fatau did a good job in pressing, winning the ball. Jordan was there and scored, and at the end was a little bit lucky maybe to score, but I think in all well deserved, and we played good under these circumstances. 42 degrees, very, very hot for us. I think we did well, and to finish this game here as a winner. Okay. I can't say. I think we had a very good fighting spirit, but this game was the edge, to be honest. It was 50-50, you know. I think Mali had also good chances, and they have a very good team. I don't think it's fair for the fans to boo the players, to be honest, because this is it was even, you know. And at the end, our substitutions made the difference, and we scored, and we are very, very happy. But we had a very good spirit, that's true. Now, every game has different demands, and for this game I chose this system, but in the next game maybe I'll choose something else. I don't know yet. So we will look firm against, look really deep what we can do against Central African Republic, and it's going to be, to be honest, going to be tougher, because now everybody expects us to win, and it's going to be difficult. It will be the same like today. These games are on the edge. If you see all the games, they're all on the edge. Central African Republic, I think they played draw against Mali. So we have to expect a very, very strong team against us. It's going to be difficult. They won, I think, the game yesterday, 1-0. So it's very, very tight, and yeah, it's going to be difficult. And like I said, every game demands different options, different actions, you know?
Now let's check out the results of other qualifiers on the continent as well. Egypt, they secured a really, really good win in that particular game yesterday. So we can just go through the results. Egypt, they are top of Group A now. The win means they've won all 3 matches played in the qualifiers so far. So they've got 9 points, and they are on top of Group A. Senegal, they played out a 1-1 draw with Congo. Benin, they also won by a 0-0 against Rwanda. Algeria, they lost at home to Guinea, and now they are joint toppers of that particular group. Algeria have got 6 points, and then Guinea also have 6 points. And we've got Mali, who sat in Bamako and lost to the Black Stars by 2-1. And obviously the Black Stars are in second. Now to the Ghana Premier League, and we have the fixtures for week 33 of the competition. For the league title, Samatex, they've obviously won the league title, but for the relegation battle, it's going to be really tough. Now, let's go through the fixtures. Royal Tamale United, they come up against Asante Kotoko. Now, we've got Accra Lions, who also face Dreams FC. Kerala United lock horns with champions Samatex. Heart of Lions play Legon Cities. Bafaka Tana, who are already relegated, they also lock horns with Brekum Chelsea. Aduana FC play in Swatriman FC. Gold Stars, they also lock horns with Midiama. Nations FC take on Bechem United. And of course, the blockbuster is the Ga Manchester Derby. Heart of Oak come up against Great Olympics. Now, Heart of Oak are just a point above the relegation zone. They are just a point above Great Olympics as well. Heart of Oak have got 41 points. Great Olympics have got 40 points. So that's a crucial match. Anybody who loses that particular game might be in a precarious position as far as relegation is concerned.
Welcome back on the AM show. It is that time of the morning where I get to share with you my blunt thoughts. You know, I cut incisively. I'm like a surgeon looking at the critical issues that affect all of us, germane to our national life. But, you know, sometimes I must admit, I do get tired talking about Ghana's problems. It's so overwhelming sometimes. And I'm not just talking about maybe this administration, maybe more within this administration. But sometimes I just think about Ghana. Take, for example, the bit about the central bank and the losses we have incurred. Again, our central bank. And some people trying to make comparisons about, oh, other banks in certain places also incurred some losses. So when Singapore was doling out $1,000 to every citizen, that is the equivalent of at least 15,000 cedis now. Where were we? You know, other countries and the social systems and everything else they have. Can we compete? Can we? So when we make these assumptions without drawing the proper linkages, the nexus, then you ask yourself, what kind of comparisons do we want to bring to the fore? Especially when you cite these countries in other areas, health and other, and they say, oh no, why are you comparing a third world country? I don't like that term, but yeah, a developing country to a developed, purportedly developed country. But when it suits them, I guess it's different strokes for different folks. But this morning, I don't want to talk about any of that. I want to focus on two critical issues. And that is why I've titled my blunt thoughts today, Non-Existent Wi-Fi and a Cost Crisis, Ghana's Deepening Woes. Non-existent Wi-Fi and the Cost Crisis, Ghana's Deepening Woes. It was almost a kind of. But please, come to the slides with me. Let's address some of these issues. So, on this Wi-Fi bit about our schools and senior high schools, to be specific, and the promise of giving them Wi-Fi and the quantum of money we've invested in it, there are some interesting details there. I'll look at both sides, including the Ministry of Education and what it has had to say on this. But if you look at the 2016 manifesto of the NPP, It said, the NPP will, in collaboration with the private sector, provide free Wi-Fi coverage for senior secondary and tertiary institutions nationwide, dedicated to learning, administration, and enhancing the capacity to do research. So senior high schools, enhance the capacity to do research. Give them Wi-Fi. Next slide. Shall we go to the next slide? All right, so we'll try to get that. Now, in terms of the payment for no internet, according to the fourth estate, government paid for a service provider 56 million Ghana cedis for no internet in the schools. That's what the fourth estate has brought to bear on the back of the analysis they have made and the visits to schools. Now, in some schools, internet connectivity has been absent for over a year. You can cite, for example, Accra Academy, among other institutions that say, listen, we've even had to fall back on other mechanisms, which we fund ourselves, when in fact, a contractor had been paid to do this. So what exactly happened? 96% of schools visited in June and July 2023 had no internet connectivity. 96%. That's 9.6 out of 10. Now, when you look at the next slide, the internet stopped working when we were in Form 2. We no longer use it at the ICT lab. That's a final year student of one of these schools. Another one, this is from an IT coordinator in a school visited. There's no Wi-Fi anywhere. It's a white elephant. In other words, a charade, non-existent. But if we go to the next slide, we get a bit of a breakdown of the total cost. So if you look at the response from the Ministry of Education, they are saying the total is 84.4 million Ghana cedis. On the breakdown, phase 1, 717 senior high schools. The cost, 59.9 million Ghana cedis. Phase 2, the registration of educational offices, regional education offices, 46 colleges of education, so the regional education offices, 46 colleges of education, and then 260 district education offices, to the tune of 24.5 million Ghana cedis. Sometimes I wish we could have a more incisive breakdown. And those are the things that when you go to them, they will not give you. And you put in an RTI request and it becomes what it is, an albatross round your neck. So you sum the two and you get that figure there. And it had to do with supply, installation, and hardware maintenance, according to the Ministry of Education. Now, if we go to the next slide, again, on the response, they talk about monthly internet cost of 6.37 million Ghana cedis in 2019, which was revised to 11.52 million Ghana cedis in 2023. Surprised? Don't be. The ministry does not pay if services do not reach 50% in a particular month. So my question then is, in 2023, for example, when between June and July, 96% of these schools had no internet, what happened within that window? What happened? There are committees in place to vet all invoices before payments are made. Suffice it to say that if you want to get into these, just as with school feeding and everything else, it's a can of worms. But I'll leave it there for now. Next slide. The Ministry of Education paid 3.6 million Ghana cedis instead of 6.49 million submitted after vetting in February 2024. And of course, this was after some of these surveys had already been conducted. The Ministry of Education, upon evaluation, is considering termination of aspects of the contract in schools with challenges. Aspects of the contract, termination. Question is, if some of what we are experiencing now, or some of what has emerged now, hadn't emerged, would we be hearing of some of these? Would we? Why do we have to wait until there are exposés, until the rot is exposed, before we pretend we're acting? And yes, I use that word intentionally. Pretend we're acting. What goes into these contracts? I mean, regardless of administration, right? One of the areas where the country bleeds the most, and even the system admits it, contracts. Contracts. It's crazy. Procurement. It is mad. That is where the most thievery happens. And it's about partyism, cronyism, this and that. Let's not pretend that other parties are saintly. But the extent to which it has been done. Look, sometimes the places I go to and the things I hear, even from people walking the corridors of power, will shock you. Some of them, of course, I can't regurgitate, I can't puke it out here. Higher crime chain. But those that we can, we do. And it's crazy. So when you sit in your own place and you say, oh, Benjamin, he's being too hard and all of that, think about your future. And if you're not concerned about your future, think about your children. And if you have no children, think about your relatives and their children. But next slide. From education, where we have all these contracts and we're bleeding. I can't talk about all of them. It's not possible within this space of time. I also want to move into the area of the cost of living, especially when it comes to food. Now, no human being can do without food. You can do longer without food than without water, depending on your physical situation, by and large. But the cost of food right now is maddening. And from time to time, I go to the market myself, so I know. But here are some things we gathered in recent times. Pepper, mako. I mean, there was a time when we didn't, you'd buy 1 cedi, 2 cedis. And I mean, it wasn't something we, mako. Now, in June 2023, you would have got a paint container for 65 cedis. And even then, people were complaining. Now, in June 2024, it goes for 200 Ghana cedis. That is a 207.69% increment. It means you've added on 135 cedis just to get the same paint container. Next slide. When it comes to tomatoes, again, paint container. And I'm talking about the normal paint container. I'm not talking of the big ones. No. When you're Leila Nameka, Meka and Ketwano. What has here? In Ketwano Nameka. June 2023, 75 cedis. Here, June 2024, 180 cedis. A 140% increment. But when you look at the crate, that is where, next slide, that is where you see how much of a difference, really, it is. Now, if you look at the crate or the box or what we would call adaka, in January 2023, you would have got it for 1,500 cedis. This one, it busts my mind. I can't think far. I can't think madness, because now it's going for 7,000 Ghana cedis. Do you know how much of an increment that is? 5,500 Ghana cedis added on. That is the 366% increment. Maba. Next slide. Then we can talk about the rising prices of food items. A tuber of yam has doubled in price. You used to get it for 15 Ghana cedis. Now it is what? 30 Ghana cedis per tuber. 100% increment. Next slide. Then you look at the rising prices of food items. Onion imports, for example, if you look at quarter 1, 2021 to 2024. So we're looking at each quarter, right? 2021, and you would see how the depreciation of our currency is affecting our purchasing power. 3.09 million was the equivalent of about 537.9K. That was what we were using to get our onions within that quarter. In 2022, $557,000, the equivalent of 3.55 million. Then you see the decline. In 2023, the same, you would notice that across the board, we're spending over 3 million Ghana cedis. I mean, in fact, there's even a repetition of the figure. Same figure, 2022 and 2024. But look at how much the purchase can be in dollar terms. From 537, 557, it's now 309,000. And in 2024, even lower, 290,000. It tells you that what we can do with our currency has declined. And so, in essence, what is happening here is this. 290,000 is almost half of this figure, 557,000. But look, we are spending the same amount, 3.55 million. That also tells you that we would require practically twice as much to to be able to purchase the same amounts that we were getting before. Which is why there was that cost crisis I speak of. Because then, if you were buying something for maybe 10 cedis, now it will cost you about 20 cedis or more, because whoever has brought it in, after all the taxes, would also want to make a profit. That is why things are so expensive. Our currency, I don't want to use the word that is coming, but it is incredibly weak. I don't know whether we should stick to what the Vice President said. If the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. There was a time when he said, the dynamics are not the same. Maybe he would have to explain to us. Next slide. Now, as we get ready to wind down on the prices of food items, we also look at our mineral fuel imports in billions of Ghana cedis. There's something interesting there. If you look at the data we've sourced from the Ghana Statistical Service, you would see that 2021, 2022, 2023, there is a steady increment in terms of the imports of these fuel products in relation to the food items, because that also contributes. The farmer has to get his food from the rural area to Accra, to Kumasi, to Suhuyini, and some other places. It comes at a cost, which also increases. It is factored into the cost of the tomatoes, the whatever that you will buy. You would see that in here, 15.5 billion Ghana cedis, almost double, 39, in fact, more than double, 39.76 billion in 2022, and in 2023, 57.99 billion. We're expending more, partly because our currency is also where it is. And other currencies, Now, I'm kind of saying, because if now you want to transact and you are going to pay about 16 cedis to $1, 16 cedis to €1, almost 20 cedis, 19 thereabouts, to $1 Great British pound. If you say currency, I always say name, pound sterling. Currency, I always say name there. But what is happening to us? You see, we must learn from example. Now, I believe this is the last bit I'll be looking into as well when it comes to the rising prices of food items. Then there is the toilet paper import bill, which is where I intentionally wanted to add this because it's something so basic sometimes you don't even want to look at it. But toilet paper. If you purchase tissue, you will understand. 2021, 10.9 billion expended. It fell in 2022, but look at that, 2023, almost these two figures combined in millions of Ghana cedis. That one is not in billions, in millions of Ghana cedis. Look at that, toilet paper import bill. Toilet paper. I recently heard the Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. Stephen Amwa, talking about, oh, we import this and we import that. Let's forget about that bill, the import bill that was going to be put in Parliament, because they had too many problems. But I do agree, fundamentally, how can we be importing this much in toilet paper and tissue? You see, if we don't deal with these issues, maybe Benjamin Akako will come and expose them and talk a lot about them. But I'm not the one in power. I don't make those decisions. Those in office have to make those decisions. What has happened to the Komenda Sugar Factory? What has happened to Saglemi? What has happened to some of the other projects that the NDC, also when they came from the Kufuor era, they abandoned? If we keep up like this, we will go nowhere as a country. But is that what we want? I get tired talking about some of these issues. I want to talk about some of the very good things happening. But every day is a crisis. And we are all in it. God save our country, yeah? God save Ghana. My name is Benjamin Akako. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. As always, my prayer, God help Ghana and make her great and strong. Thank you for watching. Well, welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to get into the nitty-gritty when it comes to Green Ghana Day and how far we have come. Over the last few years, we have engaged in this, and there are so many questions to ask in terms of what we've attained, how far we've come, and what the way forward is. Well, Sweetie Abochi, you're looking green this morning.
Unintentionally. But I heard you say Maba. Yeah, I heard you say Maba, and I thought, I didn't know you speak Ghana. Or is it just that you get frustrated with this?
When the frustration comes, sometimes you switch into certain languages. They are lucky I didn't speak Dagbani today, but a bit. Okay. Just very, very little.
Yeah.
I am restricted to hunger and thirst. Gom malma and kum malma. Oh, one is sleep, I think. What's that?
Please give me water.
Oh, okay. So that's accelerated. I dare you to say something.
It's okay, thank you.
But Green Ghana Day, even before we get into the conversation with our guests and all of that, what do you make of this initiative over the last few years and some of what we've been watching in terms of some of those who have been planting and the gains that have been made?
I think it's a great step in the right direction because climate change is here. We need to make conscious efforts that when we're felling trees, we're replanting them because we need a tree. They say the day the last tree dies, the last man dies. But also there are the nuances that we want to probe right now. How do you know, how do you count 42 million trees that you've planted so far? How many out of those 42 million, like the minister said, are doing well? And what are the issues that are coming up? So I'm just curious to get more clarity really on where this goes. And I know that dealing with climate change is not just planting trees yearly does not suffice. So what else can we do to ensure that we're actually tackling the issue and not just, planting trees because we want to commemorate Green Ghana Day? So
not just scratching the surface. Yeah. Because if you go, parks and gardens, we've had our own situation. Even in Accra, some of what Nkrumah did and areas that were supposed to be, it reminds me of some other parts of the world I've been to where in every community, there's that area, park-like area people can go. And it's good, it's refreshing. The more plants you have in your environment, the better the air quality where you live, right? So it's a good thing, but you cannot expect that just because it's a good initiative, just like free SHS and the problems that bedevil it, you cannot say that just because it's a good initiative, we should turn our eye away from some crucial issues, like cost.
Yes.
Like how many of these have survived? Like who has got what? Who is getting the contracts? How many of these seedlings, I mean, how much did we purchase the seedlings? How much did we give them out for, if for free in most instances? What have been the gains? If you can't make a proper cost-benefit analysis of anything in your own life, you would make a cost-benefit analysis and realize that, I'm getting this from this. Maybe at this point, it makes no sense to continue doing this because at this point, the cost is more than the benefit. We need to do that. And we've always shied away from that. The best we've done is to say that, we spent X amount on this number of seedlings and a few other things. But you see, this is where it becomes problematic. In another jurisdiction, down to the last seedling and who got it.
It's accounted for.
I mean, goats have chewed some of the... those are in there. Yeah. But anyway, would you like to bring in our guest this morning? Joining us for the discussion?
We have first on our list of guests this morning is Alhassan Suhuyini, the Deputy Ranking Member for Lands and Forestry Committee in Parliament. You're welcome to the program. I think
Mr. Suhuyini, you'd have to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Right. We'll also be joined.
Thank you very much, and let me say good morning to you both, and good morning to the viewers.
Yeah, you're matching with Benjamin this morning. I don't know what the occasion.
I don't know why Hassan decided to copy me. He's copying me. Hassan, are you not copying me?
I agree. He watched you this morning.
You saw me somewhere this morning and decided to copy me.
I watched you earlier, and I noticed your frustration with the
blunt
Wi-Fi-less Wi-Fi. And I saw how you were dressed, so I decided to copy, but with a matching hat. That's the difference.
You've done one better. You've gone one better. Anyway.
Well, we'll also be joined by Emmanuel Ansomani Kranting, who's project coordinator, climate change and well-being at Pen Plus Bites. Emmanuel, welcome to the program.
Welcome, madam. Good morning, and good morning to your discerning viewers and listeners.
Good morning. It's good to have you here. And then finally, we have Palgrave Boachidankwa, government spokesperson on governance and security. Palgrave, it's good to have you join us.
It's good to be here this morning, and a very good morning to the colleagues on the panel and to you both look fairly this morning on TV.
Well, thank you. Let's get into the conversations. Let me start by saying that Alhaji Suhuyini, you've been waxing lyrical about some of the issues that are surrounding this Green Ghana Day, talking about costs, talking about lack of transparency. So just situate what the issues really are, as you say.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of this discussion this morning. I think that some of the issues that I've been raising, first of all, have to be viewed from the context of how well intended we all thought that this exercise was going to be. And so it has to be established before anything else is said that it is a noble idea to want to reserve a day once in a year, if for nothing at all, to conscientize all of us to see how important it is for us to protect our environment and to increase our stock of trees because of the benefits that we get from it, improved atmosphere and all of that. So it's a noble idea for us to want to do this. Unfortunately, a number of targets have been missed. For example, during the launch, I recall the minister in 2021 gave the indication that this was going to be largely private sector driven and that the funds for this exercise yearly was going to come from private sector donations. In fact, a committee, I recall, was set up to oversee the mobilization of funds from the private sector to drive this exercise. Unfortunately, over the years, no accountability has been made with regard to that area. What we do know as members of the Lands and Forestry Committee, however, is that government continue to pump in millions and millions of Ghana cedis every year to support this program. Now, I am of the view that it lacks transparency because you started with a very interesting question. How do you count 41 million trees planted, and how are you able to determine how many of those trees have actually survived over the period? That is a difficult thing to do, especially when the ministry doesn't seem to be minded to put in place a structural process to make it easy for us to verify how many trees are actually planted yearly and how many have actually survived, the vagaries of the weather and other threats. We at the committee a number of times have requested to even get data from the ministry to be able to do our own assessment. If we had that data, I'm sure by now as a committee we would have even traveled around the country on our own to assess the impact of this. But the ministry will continue to promise to give us that data, but has not been forthcoming with the data. But you see, what is obvious in the implementation is that, one, we do not know how contracts for supply of seedlings are awarded. What we hear around the corridors of power at the ministry and at the Forestry Commission is that these contracts are just handed over to people without any competitive bidding at sometimes very fantastic prices, inflated prices. And so it will be important for us to find out how these seedling contractors are selected and how the contracts are awarded. Only last year, you recall that the Ashanti Region Seedling Growers Association had a press conference at which they alleged that government was owing them 28 million Ghana cedis for seedlings they had supplied for 2021 Green Ghana and 2022 Green Ghana. And so as at 2023, the amount owed to these seedling suppliers in the Ashanti region, according to them at their press conference, was 28 million Ghana cedis.
Okay.
And that is debt on Ghana's books. That is debt that you and I have to pay. And so it's important that we know how those debts are accrued, so that when we are paying it, we know we are paying value for money. That is an issue that is of worry to me personally. Again, the aim of this exercise is, like we have all already stated, to improve our forest cover and to gain the benefits from it. And so it becomes ironic when you have a government that wants us to believe that this exercise is important because of the benefits we'll get from it.
Right.
Turn around and engage in policies and activities that is counterproductive. That
what kind of policies are you talking about? Are you referring to?
For example, you have His Excellency the President declassify existing forests, like the Achimota forest. Use Executive Instrument 144 to declassify about 360 acres of the Achimota forest land. And what declassification means is that those areas are considered, are no longer forest reserves. And so they do not have the protection that forest reserves are supposed to have. And so any form of development and construction can now take place on those lands.
Okay, please hold for me. I mean, some of your points have been noted. Now, Paul Grave speaks for the government, so I'll let him respond to some of the issues that you have raised. Paul Grave.
Policies, if I could just underboard, this is just the Achimota forest. So you have the government, declassifying existing forests when they are, through this Green Ghana, trying to suggest to us that there's a need for us to green our country. And yet existing forests are declassified and the land sold to themselves and private partners to put up construction that will affect the integrity of the existing forest. Then you also have the lack of political will to fight galamsey, illegal mining. And in this case, you have even sometimes leading members of the party engaging in mining in forest reserves, like the Tano Nimrimi Forest Reserve, where you had Akonta mining, undertaking mining in that forest when the laws do not allow it.
Okay,
and
Mr. Suhuyini.
Before even investigations could take place, the president, cleared Akonta mining of any wrongdoing. I mean, acts like this do not, if you like, align with the agenda of Green Ghana.
Right, your point has been made. Now, Paul Grebe Dankwa, you're online with us. How does all these issues he's raised sit with you? Or what is the government saying, your government spokesperson?
No, so thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and let me greet your viewing public and listeners. And say that Green Ghana Day is one of the initiatives of government to eradicate climate change and also contribute towards everything. I've heard it.
Paul Grave, very quickly, I don't know where you are, but your connection is patchy, so we can have a fruitful conversation.
Can
I
you
suggest you move a bit and speak up.
Is it clear?
It's better now.
Okay, sure. So you had mentioned the amount of money that had been invested into Green Ghana from government, and it's primarily very private-led as well. We are aware how expensive it is. Over the years, from 2021, when this was launched, we've done about 42 million trees that have been planted. And the survival rate is about 73.3% from monitoring and evaluation. I'm surprised that Suhuyini hasn't got the data, as he said, he's not received, but this data is available. And we have been planting rosewood, mahogany, wawa, acacia, royal palm, almond, etc. It's the same thing that we're going to do this morning as well. The president and other Dankwa is going to plant at the Nicholson Park at Bemakam to contribute our own legacy in terms of eradicating deforestation and afforestation and ensuring that we are keeping the climate very healthy. I think that the issues are very clear, that this is not something that government is doing because it fits the policy agenda but it's our responsibility as a country to ensure that the forests that have been degraded over the years and the trees that have been cut over the years are restored to elongate our life. You are aware, as I stated over and over again, that when the last tree dies, the last one dies. And so our government is very strong and committed to see to it that over the years from 2021, trees that have not been planted, those trees are planted. So this year, we're planting about 10 million seedlings.
Okay.
Those seedlings are picked across from the various forestry commission and various departments across the country.
Let me interject here for a second. You mentioned monitoring and evaluation. I was hoping you shed more light on that. What specific activities form part of this monitoring and evaluation? Paints the picture.
I think it's basic. People's understanding of monitoring and evaluation. We have teams that goes to the various places where the trees are planted, because often we have quotas that are given in the southern part, in the northern part, in areas of mining, in areas of construction where trees have been cut down. We give very, very specific quotas. So we have seen from the various ministries and parts.
Your line is breaking up again, but are you saying that you're able to track every single tree that you've planted, and you have teams that go around to monitor these trees?
Very much. That's what I'm saying. Yes, we have teams.
How exactly have you done that?
Say that again.
How exactly have you done that?
No, I mean, however monitoring is done. I mean, so these
You're saying monitoring, Paul Grave. I'm asking you, how exactly have you done that? You're telling me how the same way monitoring is done. I'm asking, what has gone into the monitoring? What equipment are you using? Where are you going? How are you coming by the metrics? If you say monitoring has been done, you should be able to answer those questions.
Benjamin, we have teams that go to the various places where the trees have been planted. In the northern sector, we have the Forestry Commission that deploys teams to go in. I mean, they go in with their tools, they go in with their equipment, and they number. I mean, these trees that have been planted over the years have names, their locations where trees have been planted. So we mark those places, count the trees, we count survive, count those that have not survived, and we will put the date together.
You're breaking up again, Paul Grave. You really need to reposition and maybe stay in one place. We lost a few seconds of your submission, so let's try again.
Yes, I've stated that over the years from 2021, we've planted a lot of trees and seedlings, numbering to about 42 million. And I'm stating that the record on the data states that we have had a survival rate of about 73.3%. And so you recall that we started with 5 million trees in 2021, came to 20 million trees in 2022, came to 10 million in 2023, and then multiplication of 10 million again 2023. Much as we have exceeded expectations in those years. And I've stated we have teams from the Forestry Commission that have gone always to make sure that these trees that are planted, especially those that are given in quotas to mining sites, to forest sites and forest reserves, we know those places. I mean, without, and then also the individual people that came to pick up. There's always a data. When you come and pick up your seedling, you write your name, you write your location, and we have teams that go in and out to make sure that those trees that are planted are surviving.
Now, first off, you made mention of the fact that 73.3% of the seedlings or the trees had survived. That is not correct, if I'm to stick to the mathematics. Now, over here, we are told that 30 million of the trees were thriving at different stages of growth. 30 million divided by 42 million times 100 will give you a little over 71%. So that's just maybe a correction you can take moving forward.
71, 72, 73, still in the 70s.
71 is not 73 for statistical purposes. But moving the conversation forward, if I were to ask you, before I go to Mr. Asomeni of Pen Plus Bytes, if I were to ask you, on the back of, in the last few years, we had conversations about the forest cover and the quantum leaps, if you like, gargantuan increments in loss of forest cover. Then we have what Alhassan Suhuyini referenced, where some lands, like the Achimota forest, that were hitherto protected in certain ways, are now open. There are windows open for people to engage in different activities in them, and we can reference the Sir John issue. I will not go there. Among other developments. If I asked you, let's even throw away the numbers, our environment on the back of Galamsey and everything, what are the real gains we have made from these trees? Not just about who has got a contract and how financially it has impacted, but our environment. What would you say?
Government has been very committed. And in the commitment of government has set a process of ensuring that we come forward that has repeated years. Obviously, 4 years having consistent growth of focus of government acting every 2 years to 3 single years. You have that it's not going to take.
Paul Grave, so I'm going to have to do this because it's not helping me, it's not helping our viewers. I don't know, but no one can hear what you're saying. I'm sorry. And everyone who is watching can understand. I'll move to Mr. Suhuyini and we'll see whether we can get a better connection for Paul Grave, Boakye Dankwa. Emmanuel Suhuyini Kranting is Project Coordinator, Climate Change and Wellbeing, Pen Plus Bite. Emmanuel, good morning.
Good morning, Benjamin. Good morning to your audience.
Right. We've had this conversation for a number of years now, and sometimes it is seen that we're putting the needle on the point, but our country has a history and we have to do that. So, brilliant initiative has been mentioned already, but from where you sit, what is your reading so far of how far we have come, the gains that we have made, and maybe the question of money that we've pumped into this and whether we're getting the accurate value for that money?
Right, okay. So I would say that indeed, undoubtedly, the Green Ghana...
Emmanuel, you'd have to speak up, please.
Hello?
Yes, better. Let's keep it like that.
Right. Okay, so I was saying that the Green Ghana Day, obviously, I would say it has been very loud. It's a very laudable initiative, if I should put it. It's been very significant in ensuring that we restore our lost cover and all of that. But from where I sit, I work with an organization called Pen Plus Bite. And at the heart of everything we try to do, we try to incorporate technology into everything. And so we are looking at it from the angle of where we can incorporate technology into the Green Ghana Day initiative. So for 4 years running, if I should put it, since 2021, we've been planting trees, and we've had the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. Abujinapo, saying that we've planted over 42 million trees. But the question is, how are we incorporating technology into all of this? Because we live in a digital era now, and we can't say we are using manual means to sort of update these trees, looking at how many are doing well and all of that. And so we have issued a statement, and I would want to engage with the statement or speak more about the statement. So we are calling for the incorporation of technology, or if I should put it, expedite action in using energy-efficient technology to reduce energy consumption and carbon emissions. So, for instance, if you look at the forest, the places we've planted the trees over the past 3 years, one question you would ask is, how are we monitoring those deforestation activities? How are we tracking those reforestation efforts? How are we using technology to do that? And so I believe that it is about time we shift the conversation towards that angle where we can say that, so for us, we are calling for the use of remote sensing and geographic information system technology, for instance, so when I talk of those systems, I'm talking about the use of drones and ground robots, for instance, to pick the coordinates and to monitor the reforestation or the tree plantings that have gone on for the past years. So how have we picked the coordinates of trees that we planted over the years? And how are we using technology to monitor those ones? And beyond that, we are also looking at awareness creation in general. I know we are all calling on every citizen to come on board to ensure that we plant more trees. But beyond today, what are we doing to address climate change? Agencies like the EPA, beyond today, the tree planting and all of that, what are we doing to ensure that individuals buy into the whole concept of climate change? Because believe you me, Benjamin, there are many people who still don't believe that climate change exists. And so I think we have to also look at that angle very well. So we come back again to what can we do? So we at 10 Plus Bytes, as I earlier mentioned, we are saying that we should leverage digital platforms. We have, I know the EPA, they have a social media, they have their social media pages, they have their website and all of that. How are they using it to engage the ordinary Ghanaians? How are they using their Facebook page, for instance? Now TikTok is on the rise. How are they using TikTok to create short videos, educating individuals about the need for us to pay attention to the problems that the environmental problems we have as a country? And so we have, these are all, if I should put it, there are myriad of issues we need to address. Yes, we have to, the tree planting has been going on. We've achieved some gains, but these are some of the bottlenecks I believe we need to address. Yeah, thank you.
I would like to pose that question back to you. Just out of curiosity, what are you doing, your organization, to ensure that you're increasing awareness beyond today, that is? I mean, you've questioned what the EPA and the ministries are doing about it, but just help me understand if you're doing anything from your end of the conversation.
Yes, thank you for the question. So for us at 10 Plus Bytes, we've been in operation for the past 2 decades, and we have been looking at, when it comes to climate change and well-being within that sector, first and foremost, we deal more with journalists. And so I'm sure some people, your colleagues in the newsroom, can attest to this, that sometime last year, we convened journalists in a 3-day training, building their competence when it comes to climate change reporting, how they can raise awareness, how they can look at which specific issues they should focus on when it comes to climate change reporting and all of that. Beyond that also, we conducted a research to serve as a baseline study to help us appreciate how far we've come as a country in trying to address climate change in Ghana. And the findings have been very revealing, if I should put it, and they have informed and influenced policy directions. We've engaged the EPA, we've engaged the Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources, we've engaged MESI on our findings. And so there are so much we are doing as an organization towards addressing the impact of climate change.
Right. Hold for me. Let's try and get back Palgrave if we've established a better connection. Palgrave, are you with us now?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me? Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now. I think you were reacting to Benjamin's questions. You can go ahead and complete your thoughts on the gains that we've made.
No, I think that, you see, the gains is very clear. 2021, we planted 10 million seedlings and trees. We gained 67% survival. 2022, we planted 20 million seedlings. So 2021, we planted 5 million seedlings. 2022, we planted 20 million seedlings. We had 72% survival. Last year, we did 10 million seedlings. We had 81% survival. You know, I'm not too sure how Benjamin did his calculating and got a 71, but I won't debate on mathematics here. What we can say is that of the 42 million seedlings that we have planted, we've had a 70% above, survival. And I think that is key and significant because the government has been very, very transparent, even with how much government itself has supported and how much private sector has supported. 2021, government put in disbursed 2 million Ghana cedis. 2022, government disbursed another 2 million Ghana cedis. 2023, government disbursed 2.5 million Ghana cedis. And 2024, government disbursed 1.5 million Ghana cedis. But this is of the minimal of what it costs, because every time the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources would write letters to private companies and private sector to invest into it, NGOs to invest into it, and this is how we've been able to fund it.
I just have a brief follow-up. So you ask, for example, how I got my figures. I'm using what you're saying. The thought is that 30 million of these have survived. You say 42 million were planted. It's simple mathematics. If you divide the 30 by the 42 and multiply by 100, you get a little over 71%, Paul Grieve. So I was just drawing your attention to it that if the figures you are bandying about are to be taken into consideration, unless those are not the correct figures, it is not 73.3%. That was just what I was saying. It's a matter of, but the core of the question is, how do we justify? When we say, for example, 67% survived in 2021, 72% in 2022, and per the Daily Graphic story, a staggering 81% in 2023. What do we have to show? How do we justify this? It's not just about saying, oh, we had people on the ground and we sent these people in there to do. How do we justify this beyond just saying that we sent people into this area and that's how we are justifying it?
Benjamin, in every tree planting exercise all around the world, and I'm glad that the other gentleman spoke about technology, because there is the deployment of technology in ensuring that this data that comes back to feed analysis is accurate.
What technology are you using?
That's it. What that we use to the various places where these trees are planted, there are things that ground, because the forestry thing has visited across the length of various places who go day out to monitor, to even talk to farmers, talk to the people that have planted, especially those demarcated areas where they have grown for last level tree plants. These are the monitoring that we are doing on the from 2021 to next, and that's the monitoring would be something no more, but as the monitoring for 2024 going forward.
All right. We struggled to hear you, Paul Grieve, but I would like to find out from you. I mean, Mr. Suhuyini made some comments about lack of transparency and that they'd written to the ministries for the data, but there's some sort of hush-hush treatment on making this data available to them. Do you have an explanation for that? Why this data you also talk about that, you know, that comes from your monitoring and evaluation, why isn't the data made public? So even if not for us citizens, for members of parliament who sit on the Lands and Forestry Commission.
For public scrutiny.
Yeah.
I don't think the data is not available. I am sure that when the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources had the press conference at the Ministry of Information earlier on this week, it was very clear that he sent out a lot of data, and anyone is willing to receive data. The Ministry has
it's difficult to hear you because you keep breaking up. And let's try again.
Hello, can you hear?
Yes.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. So the data is available. So there's a committee that this tree planting exercise over the years. The data is available. That is, Alhaji Suhuyini is minded, can request for that data. There's no data that is being hidden from anyone at all.
But he said he's on the line. Alhaji Suhuyini, Paul Grieve is saying that the data is available. You're saying that you've written to the ministry and you've not been given the data. How do you respond to that? He's on the line saying these things.
Honorable, good morning to you, Honorable.
Good morning, my brother. The data that Paul Grieve is referring to is perhaps the same data that he's sharing with you. And that is not verifiable. That is not enough for purposes of scrutiny. If you tell me, for example, and even he himself gets the figures confused, and that's why perhaps he's having this mathematical, disagreement with Benjamin. In 2021, for example, the intention of the ministry was to plant 5 million trees. At the end of the day, they reported that they had planted 7 million trees. Now, the question you ask is, where are the trees being planted? Once you have that answer, then you can verify when the ministry says 71% of the trees planted have, survived. But in the absence of the information regarding where these trees have been planted, if the ministry or minister throws 71% survival rate at you, that is not information that you can work with and actually speak to with confidence that indeed it is true that 71% of the trees planted have survived. And you see, when I speak of transparency, I speak of it not only in relation to the procurement contracts, but also in relation to the way the whole exercise is monitored and evaluated. Anybody who doubts this, and I challenge your news team to take this up. After today, visit the district offices of the Forestry Commission. Go to the district assemblies. You will find seedlings that have been left uncollected, unattended to, and unplanted, that perhaps may have been supplied by seedling growers for the purpose of Green Ghana. Go to those offices after today, because every year it happens. In fact, the last time, I think I saw a news report on it on one of the TV stations. I can't remember which one immediately. But it happens. They just dump the seedlings, and in some cases, they are not even planted. So how do you even account for them? And yet they are paid for by hard-earned, Ghanaian taxpayers' money. Here, when he talks about evaluation, in the past, and I'm sure now, I haven't received a call yet, the District Forestry Commission officers will make allocations to some, I think, I hate seeing myself as an important person, but for want of a better description, for some important persons in the community. And so I am allocated seedlings every year to assist in the Green Ghana exercise. And in some years, I have taken part. I have actually gone for the allocations. There are times that I think last 2 years or last year, I don't remember, I wasn't in town, so I told them to give it to those who were willing to, other agencies or organizations that were willing to also plant them. But I'm saying that no one has ever even come to me to find out where I have planted the trees that are allocated to me. And I'm sure it's same for many colleagues, because MPs are usually given these allocations. Okay. No one has ever come to find out where did you plant the seedlings. So Al-Hassan,
and
how are they performing?
Al-Hassan, yes. In a nutshell, it also means that if you have not been checked on in terms of the survival of your seedlings, then how can we say, how can even the figures we are bandying about be correct?
Be correct.
Right?
Exactly. That is my point. Even if the seedlings I have been given, no one has come to find out how they are faring. No one has ever checked on where they were planted and how they are faring. And I'm sure I speak for many out there who have received these seedlings and perhaps who have also decided to support this initiative. So it is important that we have, a transparent process of measuring how many seedlings are supplied, how in the first place the contracts are awarded, and how many seedlings are planted at the end of the day. Those that are left, those that are left and not planted, what happens to them? And are they added to, the other projects or programs that the Forestry Commission already undertakes? Like we all agree, it's a noble idea. it adds to the other initiatives that the Forestry Commission already engages in to improve our forest cover. But it is important that it is done well. In this country, and especially, forgive me, especially with this government, it's as if things are done in the form of box ticking. And little attention is paid to the impact of the things that are done. And let me just deviate a little and recall your presentation on this Wi-Fi in secondary schools. It will be reported by this government with pride that secondary schools have been provided with, Wi-Fi. And yet, the impact of that provision is not assessed by many. Meanwhile, over 56 million Ghana cedis would have been thrown at it. And somebody will be smiling all the way to the bank, and yet the students will have no Wi-Fi, and the political campaign will be heated up with a suggestion that Wi-Fi has been created and lives have been improved.
All right,
it's
Mr.
the same
Suhuyini,
thing we are talking about when it comes to this Green Ghana project.
Right. Let me bring us back. Let me refocus the conversation. I see your concern. I mean, obviously, every Ghanaian should be concerned if monies are being pumped into this initiative and there's no way to track it. But you sit on the Lands and Forestry Commission in Parliament. How are you escalating this? You said you've requested for data, procurement processes, the data on the number of trees, how they are expending the monies involved. How are you ensuring that?
Data that Paul Graves says is already available. So maybe, Al-Hassan, you just need to speak to your colleague, Samuel Abujinapo, because Paul Graves says the information is already available.
You see, that's the point I'm making. When you tell me, and sometimes I have this, disagreements with the minister very often. When you tell me that 71% of those, the seedlings planted have survived, and I tell you to show me where they are so that the committee can visit, it's not as if I am doubting what you are telling me. It is just that I am doing the work that I'm supposed to do, provide oversight. And it is not enough for me to just take your say-so and run with it as if they were facts. It is important that I know where these trees were planted, which organizations, got the seedlings and where did they plant them. Because you see, I'm telling you that when we scrutinize it that way, then the evidence of the weakness, in this exercise will be exposed. Like I have just given myself as an example, that no one has ever even checked on how the seedlings have been allocated yearly are doing.
But how are they doing? I'm curious.
Yes, I mean, some of them are doing well, but many are not, because, and again, that is another conversation.
Is it about the quality of seedlings that you were given?
So you see, it is through that assessment, through that impact assessment, that you will get to know if perhaps some seedlings can do better in some weather, or, the soil can be improved in some manner. But we don't have all of this done. We just, enjoy the publicity and the screens and the fanfare that comes with the day, and maybe the largesse that come with it also. But we do not take our time to look at how we can even improve upon the little gains, if there are any, and ensure that the country is better served with this initiative. Look, I have seen the performance review of the Forestry Services Division, and even as they also acknowledge that this is a novel idea, they are concerned about the, for example, debts that are owed to seedling suppliers.
And that's a conversation we've had for years.
Yes, they are concerned about the debts. But you see, it is beyond even the concern about the debts. It's important to know how the debts are accrued. It's important to know if the contracts that are even awarded in the first place are above board, if the rates that are charged for the seedlings are indeed, competitive. But all of this is shrouded in secrecy. You also have, the same Forestry Services Division complaining about the conversion of globally significant biodiversity areas, for timber cutting purposes. And that is in line with the point I made earlier about government policies and activities or actions that seem to counter the gains that we are seeking to make from this Green Ghana initiative.
Okay.
How do you have globally significant biodiversity areas and they have certain level of protections, and in fact you actually make gains as a result of it being located in your country, and you give licenses to people to begin to fell timber in those globally significant biodiversity areas. Clearly, the Forestry Services Division of the Forestry Commission is concerned about this. In the same manner, I think that we should all be concerned that government sees nothing wrong with declassifying forest reserves, when we could even actually use this Green Ghana to improve upon the natural forest reserve cover. So, for example,
so Al-Hassan,
that the Achimota forest is losing trees. There are some parts of the area that you are declassifying no longer even have trees, and so it is. Why don't you rather concentrate on integrating some of the trees that you are
Al-Hassan, so point made. Yes. Just to cap off the conversation, and I'll come to Paul Grave, then I'll go to Emmanuel, and then we'll wrap with you, Al-Hassan. Final thoughts. But before I do, if you look at what the sector minister has said, he says government is committed to sustainable forestry practices. He then says that this year's planting will focus on degraded forest reserves, with 6 million seedlings designated for those areas. And then another 4 million will be planted within communities that may come to those that were giving to you in the past, Al-Hassan, farms along degraded watershed areas and other public spaces. He also mentions we've been planting the likes of eucalyptus, mahogany, mango, coconut, and many others. Starting with you, Paul Grave, what are your expectations for this year's Green Ghana Day? What will be your message to Ghanaians before you go?
Very simple, that when you plant a tree, you elongate our lives. And to state that the President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is going to plant his tree at the Nicholson Park at Bemakam, and also to state that earlier on last week, the sector minister, together with Suhuyini, launched the One Student, One Tree initiative. And so we are confident that every single student in the various high schools will be planting trees as well today. And so let's go out and let's go planting. I will be planting my mango in this morning.
In where this morning? We missed that.
In Ebuakwa.
Ebuakwa?
Yes, Ebuakwa.
Okay. All right. Well, we wish you the best with that. Thank you so much for joining us. Paul Grave is government spokesperson on governance and security. He was gracious enough to join us. Let's also bring in Emmanuel Asumeni Kranting. Emmanuel.
Benjamin.
Emmanuel, your thoughts on that, please. What are your expectations of today's event, the Green Ghana Day, and how do you think moving forward we can harness technology to make it better?
Right. So I'm hoping that every Ghanaian will come out today and plant a tree. And as we look forward to seeing government, the ministry come out with concrete data on the trees that have been planted, I also think that the media can also help us demand for that data. And so we have to ensure that we get accurate data so that it will inform our future actions, because we cannot just continue planting trees each year without a proper audit. And beyond that, we are also calling that however we choose to do this, let's have technology at the back of our minds. Let's look at how we can use drone technology, for instance, to monitor some of these trees that have been planted. Let's pick the coordinates of where we plant these trees and ensure that we, on regular basis, we monitor them to ensure that we are able to do the needed due diligence, and as we move into the other years, if we are supposed to continue with this Green Ghana initiative, then we do so. If we need to revise our ways and means of doing this,
right,
we also do so. Yeah.
Emmanuel, thank you very much. Emmanuel Asimene-Kranting is Project Coordinator, Climate Change and Wellbeing with Pen Plus Bar.
So it looks like the president just arrived at Bema Camp to deliver a speech on this Green Ghana Day, and we're looking forward to that. We will go back there, but let's take final thoughts from Alhaji Suhuyini before we wrap up the conversation. Mr. Suhuyini, bring us home.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for the initiative and the suggestions to include technology into this novel initiative. I think it is in line with some of the proposals that the NDC is making to tackle even the issue of galamsey using technology, where you map up some of these areas that are at risk and closely monitor them. With that, I'm sure we can improve the question of accountability in the number of trees that are planted and in the number of trees that have survived after the planting exercise. But I just want to also conclude by saying that we do not need to duplicate some of the efforts that the Forestry Commission over the years have been engaged in terms of improving our forest landscape. Because, for example, I heard Benjamin speak of the intentions this year to include farms. The Forestry Commission already has an initiative known as Trees on Farms. And every year they spend money, improving the vegetation on farms, working with farmers across the country. So there's no need for us to use this Green Ghana initiative to duplicate that effort. It should be seen to be complementing it and not duplicating it. I think that what is important is for us to make the exercise more transparent and make it more accountable, so that at the end of the day, we are all assured that we are getting value for money. And we also need our government in other areas, say in areas of policy, in areas of action, to be seen to be reflecting the intentions behind this Green Ghana initiative. But because you cannot be seeking to be growing trees to improve our vegetative cover, and yet be doing other things that damage even more than you are seeking to create. And I think that that is what we currently are facing. And sometimes I wonder how the president feels when he attends some of these programs, like the one that you just showed us, knowing very well at the back of his mind that other things that he has done and has signed to or promoted are devastating the environment even more than this event is seeking to contribute to the improvement of the environment.
All right. Thank you so much for those final thoughts. Interesting thoughts there, Benjamin.
Very interesting. I have a comment coming through. Papa Yenzu Kwanza from Kwesimintim. He says, good morning. Humbly, I am enjoying the discussion. After planting the trees, what happens next? Most of the trees die off because they lack water, he says. And so after planting, what next? The planting is not the problem, but taking good care of them is the question we are asking ourselves. And many similar messages coming through. But leaves you with a lot of food for thought. I always say, this country, we like elsewhere. If 1 million is spent, or even 100,000 is spent, you must account for how every last dollar, penny, whatever was spent. Here, they'll give you blanket figures and expect you to understand. When you ask for the fine print, they'll be telling you different things. Welcome back on the AM show. We're hosting next the West African Examinations Council. and their awards for those who have distinguished themselves. Well, joining me in the studio this morning, we have the PRO for the West African Examinations Council, John Kapi, and he joins us right here. Good morning. Good morning. It's a pleasure to have you join the conversation today.
My pleasure, thank you.
Let me just start from the West African Examinations Council. How are you faring?
The Exams Council is doing well. We are doing well. There are, of course, a few challenges, and that is normal with every institution. So I'd say that we are doing well.
All right. So let's get right into the awards that you're going to be presenting. But tell us about the history of it, how long this has been going on. Every year we see this happen. Can you give us a bit of scope in terms of how this has been done in the past and what is happening this year?
Right. So we have what we call the WAEC Endowment Fund, which was established in 1982 when the council was 30 years old. Now, so when the endowment fund was established, it had three main objectives. The first was to establish education and development projects of international nature, so definitely beneficial to other nations. The fund also presents awards to personalities or individuals who have made significant contributions to the council. And then the third is to present awards to deserving candidates who perform very well in the council's examinations. So in 1985, the endowment fund decided to establish what they call the Excellence Awards. Okay. And the Excellence Awards are meant to present awards to candidates who have performed excellently in the council's examinations. So basically, from that period, they started to present what they call the prizes to those who excelled in the GC O-level, that is the old system. All right, and then over time, when the O-level was phased out, that in 1999, they shifted on to the West African Senior School Certificate examination.
I see. Now, in terms of these awards, like I said, they are long-standing, but when you award now, are you awarding, you know, the West African setup, I mean, there was a time when there was some sort of decoupling, correct me if I'm wrong. So are you awarding Ghanaian students for Ghana, or what shape does it take? Because there's also the West African one. Just clarify.
Right. So the exams that we conduct are of an international nature. So the awards are meant for candidates who take part in the Council's international examinations. Now, despite the fact that the WAEC RISE examinations at a different time from the other countries, does not make it any different. We still maintain the international coloring of the examination. Basically, we still have the same moderators for the examination questions.
The benchmarks are the same.
Yeah, all the benchmarks are still the same. So the exams are still international in nature. Now, earlier I mentioned the Excellence Awards. So the Excellence Awards are meant for candidates from all the 5 member countries who have taken part in the examination. So in excess of about 2-point-something million candidates are put together, and then out of that we extract the top 3.
I see.
And they are the ones who win the Excellence Awards. Now, the Distinction Awards are country-specific. Okay. So what we are doing next Thursday is simply to award our own candidates from Ghana here who performed excellently in the WAS for School Candidates 2023.
So our own candidates from Ghana who have excelled, who will be representing us on the West African stage. Is that
right? So for now, the international awards have been presented.
Okay.
It was done during the council meeting in March in
because I think the Ghanaians,
Sierra Leone. Yeah.
Ghanaians fared pretty well.
The top 3 awards were swept by the Ghanaian.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
So we are done with the Excellence Awards, and now we are coming to do what we call the Distinction Awards.
So are these the same people? Just curious, or it's a different set of people?
Well, they are the same people. We would award the top 3. So what happens is that the headquarters will present awards to them, and then the state of Ghana or WAEC Ghana would also present awards to them. Now, besides these 3 top awardees, we have others who are receiving awards for the various programs.
Right.
So we have, for example, the General Science Program, the General Arts Program, we have business, and then also the technical program. So there will be awards for these categories of people or candidates, put it that way.
So what then are the criteria for the awards, and which awards categories are we looking at?
Right, so there's a clear-cut criteria for presenting these awards. For one to qualify for the awards, you must have scored 8 A1s without any hint of impropriety. You know, there are some people who may have engaged in some form of malpractice or anything like that. So when any such thing is detected, you do not qualify to contest or to receive any such award. Now, if you look at the numbers, they are...
What if the person is cleared in the end?
Obviously, we would have finished with all our investigations before they are presented for these awards. There are a lot of background checks that we do before the awards are presented. Now, so when you look at the numbers, obviously you have, if you have over 2 million candidates, you probably will have about 1,000 who may have scored 8 A1s. And so then what does it mean? All right, so when we get to that point, what we do is that we convert their raw scores, we standardize their raw scores to what we call T-scores. So I wouldn't want to go into very deep statistics here. So what happens is that with the T-scores, you are able to calculate and then get the little differences between one candidate and the other. So it is at that point that we are able to come out with the best 3 who win the Excellence Awards.
And in terms of the awards, first, overall best?
Yeah, so we have the overall best, the second, and then the third. Yeah.
And also looking at, in terms of the impacts this has had, the impact of the awards on the awardees, on the schools, what would you say?
Well, a lot of schools who have won these awards in the past have, of course, assumed bragging rights, as it were. You know, we've had candidates from Holy Child, St. Augustine, St. Francis Pim, Achimota, Presec. Now, so it's a motivation to the upcoming ones to, I mean, they get to know that there is something at the end of the tunnel. You know, you certainly would be able to win an award if you perform very well. We also realize that a lot of the people who have won these awards have, you know, gone ahead to become, you know, very important personalities in our nation and even outside. We have, I think in 2021...
I'm sure it will enhance their scholarship opportunities.
Obviously,
as well.
Yes, yes. You know, a lot of people have come on board to sponsor some of these people for their tertiary education.
So obviously, there's a benefit in there. But nationally, what would you say the perks are?
Well, the schools, you know, become the target of virtually everybody. People want their children to attend schools that are producing these best candidates. For example, St. James Seminary Second School in Suhuyini has won the awards for the past 3 or so years. And so when it comes to admissions, you can be sure parents are pushing to have their children go into those schools. As a nation, we are also proud because we have people who have excelled in these examinations, and they've not gone to sleep. They've gone on to greater heights. Recently, there were awards presented in Legon, and there was one lady who swept 12 awards, Jochebed Sutherland or something. She was the Excellence Award winner in 2017. So 7 years down the line, she's a medical officer, and she's still, you know, at that level. So that tells you that we have very good systems that are producing, you know, good students as well, and of course, citizens that will serve our country very well.
In terms of the awards, I'm just curious, what do you give these students?
Right, so there are sponsors who come on board. They get monetary rewards, and also we have a laptop for them. And then they are presented also to the corporate world. We have corporate institutions that are sponsoring some of the awards. And so there are some of them, when they see these awards, they get interested in the individuals. And some actually come on board, you know, to assist them even beyond whatever we are giving to them. So as a council, we would give them a cash amount, and then the sponsors also give a cash amount and a laptop for them to be able to...
How much are we looking at? I just want you to mention it so that people are motivated at that level too.
Well, for now, I don't have the figures. The headquarters will provide...
Previously, how much have you given?
It keeps changing over the years. We have a dollar component and then a CD component. So right now, I will not be able to give any specific... I don't remember any...
But it's something they will definitely...
Certainly something that...
Be grateful for.
They'll certainly be grateful for, yeah.
Let's talk about, give us a briefing about this year's ceremony, the awards, and tell us about the total number of awards you have available.
Right, so this year we have 6 awards. So the top 3, we've already mentioned them. So we have also the award for the science program, the business program, the technical program, and then the general arts program. So this year's program would be held on the 13th of June. That's next week, Thursday. It will be held at the National Theatre at 10 a.m. We are going to be live on Joy News. That is the good thing. And then our special guest of honor is the Minister of Education. Okay. We also have all the big wigs in education, as well as our representative on the WAEC Endowment Fund. These are the dignitaries who are going to grace the occasion. We've also extended invitations to a number of second cycle institutions. The idea is to bring them there to watch their colleagues receive these awards, and that should serve as a motivation. We're also bringing a few of them who are from the basic school, JHS, so to come and see what you are likely to get if you proceed to the senior high school and then give it all your best.
Okay. I'll take your final comments now, but you can also reiterate the date, time, and venue, and those will be your final words.
Right. So the date is 13th June, 2024. The time is 10 a.m. The venue is the National Theatre. We want people, those who are not able to be there, to watch Joy News, okay, because they would be able to follow the program. We also want to urge all examination candidates that it is possible to pass your examinations without cheating. Those who have won these awards, we've checked their backgrounds, and all of them have excelled from JHS all through to SHS, and now they are in the tertiary institutions. And so it is possible for you to pass your examinations without engaging in any form of examination malpractice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kapi, for having joined the conversation. He is the Public Relations Officer of WAEC, John Kapi, joined us in respect of, or in consideration of, those awards that are going to be presented in the coming days. But before we go back to the Burma camp where Green Ghana Day is happening, we invite you, we're throwing the invitation to you. Escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, popularly known as Drapa Dubai. Indeed, you have seen the rest. Now it's time to see the best. Take a break from work, take a break from the south, travel up north, go to the Royal Hills Hotel, Drapa Dubai. It's the place to relax, rewind, and re-energize. It is away from the stress of the south. Now, this is what awaits you. Are you ready? 1, an unforgettable safari experience. You'll get to benefit from an amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamuses, zebras, ostriches, among many others, using spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles or using quad bikes. 2, water sports such as jet skiing, boat or canoe rides, etc. if you're a fan of, being on different water bodies. 3, various family games to keep you and your families excited every day. And 4, great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, including, if you've never been there, the Mushroom Rock, Slave Caves, and many more. So escape from the south, escape to the north, escape to the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa Dubai, for an unforgettable safari experience. I'm sure you want to give them a call. Pick up your phone. The numbers are 0501 694 280 or 0248 844 463 for reservations or further inquiries. Well, we're also drawing your attention, all HD Plus subscribers, that starting the 13th of June 2024, SES HD Plus Ghana will provide HD channels to free-to-air TV homes at no cost. This means that all the users of the multi-TV platform will have access to HD channels without paying HD Plus subscriptions. What do you have to know? Key points to remember. 1, as of the 16th day of April 2024, no new HD Plus subscription purchases or activations will be available. Existing HD Plus decoders will receive free-to-air channels until the 13th day of June 2024. That is still to come. 2. Subscribers with active subscriptions beyond 13th June 2024 will be compensated. Such customers will be contacted by the HD Plus number 0242 439 872 from the 30th day of April. Such subscribers are encouraged to call the HD Plus number, as I've mentioned, 0242 439 872 from the 1st of June 2024. Point number 3. From the 30th of May 2024, update your HD Plus decoder to access the new free-to-air HD channels. Support will be available until the 20th of June 2024, so kindly look out for the over-the-air software and upgrade your decoder upon release of the software. Well, that's it for now. That's the bit we'll bring you. But stay with us. We'll be connecting, going back to the Burma camp for the Green Ghana Day. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back on the AM show. Before we go to the Green Ghana Day event at the Burma camp, well, galleys, trenches, pools of water, erosion and dust are a common feature on the Kwekwe-Afram Plains Road. The stretch is the major access inland route after crossing the Volta River using the Kwewo Ridge. Now, for years, the stretch has not seen any bitumen. The situation is creating insecurity among commuters using the stretch. Joy News' MFA at Tiamwa Eli traveled the stretch and reports teachers, health workers often refuse postings to these districts because of poor access. There's more in this report.
The actual journey to Afram Plains begins from Echi Amanfrom. That means one would have spent at least 20 minutes to cross the Volta Lake from the Kwewo Ridge side of town. Google Maps indicates a 2-hour trip to the district capital, Donkokrum. But this only applies if you have a very good and strong car. For regular commercial vehicles, the trip takes almost twice as long. Travelers need to plan carefully to catch the pontoon in time, avoiding delays caused by the road conditions. This situation is especially concerning for pregnant women, school children, and public sector workers.
Ya kwa free hakosi donko kromanye. Awo kan we do bedru kwa mu no wawu. Ya ha na duane ni sika nyina afiri ba. Ya sire ye mpanifo se omutwa omani no omehwe yen. Apemfo ne nkwala na ye mmobo.
Kwa na di dem bebre. Adi youth ni bebre dem. Moto saye kan because of potholes ni ntino. Bon say motos no obi e doji potholes. Bon say we akofa ne nyonko le mu pe na say bran na akrashi na say akura bisi wo kromu a moto mienu krashi ye ama ba kokura fa mu ahwere ne nkwa.
The road is not nice. This road can cause accidents anytime. So as for our road here, you know, enjoy it.
As a first-time traveler on the stretch, the experience was sickening and depressing. The narrow, rough, and isolated nature of the road raised concerns about security. Over 4 days, I traveled on very unusual and inhumane routes to reach deprived communities, aiming to understand the state of social amenities. The experience was saddening. Even the roads in the district capital are in poor condition. I sought answers and spoke with the district chief executive at the district assembly, Isaac Nanofori Korea. I shared my concerns based on the experience on the community roads. I don't have the vocabulary to describe
our roads.
Yes, the road. And I know this has been here for long.
Sure.
And I can't believe that almost 8 years this administration hasn't been able to do anything. It's terrible.
Yeah, actually, we use the road from Eche Amamfrom to Agodeke is under highways, purely under highways. So the highways is supposed to be having periodical reshaping of the road. The government had a plan to, construct the road and put it into a first-class road. But unfortunately, the government was trying to seek for fund for the entire project. Unfortunately, the government didn't get the fund. So what the government has now do or is doing is that the Ministry of Local Government is procuring some equipment. That's bulldozers, tipper trucks, graders, that is going to be distributed to the district assemblies in Ghana. Fortunately, Kowa Afram Police North is also one of the beneficiary districts that is going to benefit from it. And our Vice President just informed us not long ago that very soon all this equipment will be released to the district for us to, work on the road as not a permanent measure, but as a temporary measure for some period.
This district is quite big. That's notwithstanding.